Chapter 1048. Chapter 1046. Perfect timing, but he didn't want to just let this go. Wasn't this too much of a waste? After some thought, Yu Feng said, "Then let's smash Xiao Xiao's car. That Yushu girl messed with us yesterday. Xiao Xiao must have had part in it. She must have been the one who came up with the idea to smash the car. Let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi that we're not pushovers, and we can't touch Lin Yi's bottom line, killing two birds with one stone. All right, let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi." Songming nodded in agreement. Then let's just smash Xiao Xiao's car. Lin Yi doesn't have any proof anyway, and if we don't admit it, what can he do to us? It's not Lin Yi's car, it's just a girl's car. Lin Yi won't lose any face. Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Yu Feng had been itching to give it a try. He picked up a brick from the ground and walked over to Xiao Xiao's Audi TT, slamming it down on the windshield without saying a word. Peng! The windshield was smashed by Xie Yufeng's brick. Songming and Peng Hu, on the other hand, found their tools and started smashing the car with Yufeng. The Audi TT's alarm went off, deafening, but Yufeng didn't mind at all. The louder the alarm, the better he felt, as if he had vented all his frustrations. "Bitch, let's see how you act. Let's see how you smash my car. I'll smash yours too. I'll smash you to death." Yufeng cursed as he smashed the car. "One day I'll F***ck you to death. You little bitch." Because the three of them were working together, the Audi TT was smashed beyond recognition in an instant. Qintian and Jingyi were waiting for Lin Yi at the crossroads when they heard the car alarm. Qintian paused, but turned his head the next moment, his face extremely ugly. There were actually 3 hooligans smashing his new Audi TT. Qintian was enraged. "Uft! How dare you smash my car? Do you want to die?" This was a gift for Sun Jingyi. Qintian immediately went berserk, rushing over to Yu Feng, Songming, and Peng Hu. He swung his arm and slapped them across the face, sending Yu Feng tumbling to the ground. Yu Feng didn't put up any defenses at all, and Qintian was a physical practitioner, so Yu Feng fell into his trap with a moment of carelessness. "My car! My beloved car!" Qintian touched the battered Audi TT, almost crying. "This is my present for Jingyi. You bastards! How dare you smash my car? I'll kill you!" Qintian attacked again, sending Peng Hu flying with a punch. Songming wasn't spared either. Neither of them were practitioners, so they weren't even worth mentioning in front of Qintian. They landed on the ground, there but split open once more. Yu Feng was confused by Qintian's sudden appearance, but after hearing his words, he was puzzled. This was his car? Wasn't this Xiao Xiao's car? What was going on? Could it be that he hit the wrong car? But Yu Feng was the young master of House Yu, so what if he hit the wrong car? How dare he hit the young master of House Yu? Did he not want to live anymore? These few days, Yu Feng had suffered a lot from Lin Yi, Yushu, and Xiao Xiao. How could he take it lying down in front of a random person? He jumped up from the ground and looked at Qintian coldly, pointing at his Lamborghini. "You're the one who smashed my car." "Your car? That broken car is yours?" Yu Feng looked in the direction Yu Feng was pointing at and frowned. "Why would I smash your car?" "Humph. Even if you didn't smash my car, I did smash yours. What are you going to do about it?" Yu Feng's face turned dark. "You're just a physical practitioner at the early phase of Golden Class, and you dare act cool in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you." Qintian had shown his strength just now, and Yu Feng naturally knew who he was. But he didn't know who he was, nor did he know who Sun Jingyi was. He was the trump card of House Yu, and he had never shown his face in public. He didn't interact with other noble houses either. This was why he was able to hide his identity and come to Songshan. Wouldn't he be exposed if someone he knew saw him? What the hell? You smashed my car, and you dare talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? Qintian didn't think that Yu Feng wouldn't kneel down and beg for forgiveness after being caught red-handed. Instead, he was acting like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Qin was infuriated. He wanted to use these three to build up his heroic image in front of Sun Jingyi. I don't need to know who you are. What I do know is that you're dead. Yu Feng circulated his qi secretly. He couldn't hold it in any more these few days. In front of Lin Yi, all he could do was hold it in. But in front of these outsiders, he didn't need to hold it in anymore. Since this guy in front of him didn't care, he'd use him to calm his anger. Yu Feng smiled coldly. Just a physical practitioner at the early phase of Golden Class. I'll let you know the power of a spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of Mystic Class. A spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of Mystic Class. Qin paused and looked at Yu Feng's strong aura. He was a physical practitioner, but he could feel the qi of a spiritual practitioner. The difference between the two was huge, but Qin could tell that Yu Feng wasn't weak at all. In fact, he was stronger than him. Just when the tension was high, Lin Yi came with Xiao Xiao. He froze when he saw Yu Feng and Qin fighting, but when he saw the Audi TT beside Qin, Lin Yi understood everything. Did Xie Yu Feng smash the wrong car? Did he smash Qin's car? But Qin wasn't a match for Yu Feng, so Lin Yi had to help him. After all, Lin Yi hated Yu Feng more. This Wu Qin, on the other hand, was a little stupid and arrogant. Lin Yi didn't have any special feelings for him. Wu Qin, Xie Yu Feng, you guys know each other? Lin Yi pretended not to see the conflict between the two and asked curiously. Fuck. Yu Feng was going crazy. Yes, he really was going crazy. Why was Lin Yi like a ghost? Why did he appear everywhere? He was just about to use his qi to teach Qin a lesson, and now Lin Yi was here. Yu Feng quickly retracted his qi in fright. He couldn't let Lin Yi discover his true strength. Chapter 1049. He had to endure. One had to admit that Lin Yi was quite a bad guy when he started playing dirty, even worse than Xiao Xiao and Yushu. Lin Yi had been an assassin before, and assassins were people who would do anything to kill. Other than assassination, getting someone else to do the dirty work was also the highest level of an assassin. If he could get someone else to do the dirty work, then why not? Lin Yi had a pretty good grasp of the situation now. Yu Feng's Lamborghini was smashed, and Qin's Audi was parked right where the Lamborghini was yesterday. Naturally, Yu Feng thought that it was the owner of the Audi who smashed it. And the owner of this Audi, from Yu Feng's point of view, was Xiao Xiao. In the entire school, only Xiao Xiao had an Audi TT, and so Yu Feng was certain that he and Xiao Xiao were the ones who smashed his car. Yu Feng was probably afraid of exposing his strength in front of him, so he didn't dare smash his car, afraid that he would cause trouble for him. He could only use Xiao Xiao's car to vent his anger. But little did he know that Xiao Xiao didn't drive here at all, coming in Lin Yi's car. The Audi parked here was Qin's. How strong was Qin? How strong was Xie Yu Feng? Lin Yi knew very well, if these two were to really fight, Qin would be the one at a disadvantage. But Lin Yi couldn't let Qin lose now. In comparison, Lin Yi hated Yu Feng more, and Qin still had to treat him and Xiao Xiao to feast. What was the point of eating if he got hurt? And so, Lin Yi spoke up and Yu Feng dispersed his qi. His expression was one of pain and helplessness. Wah! Iron fist, bro. Are you going to show off your iron fist? Hurry up and use your iron fist to cripple this guy. It's time to show off your heroic spirit. Xiao Xiao saw that Qin and Yu Feng were fighting, cheering. She didn't want Iron Fist to lose, either. After all, he still had to treat her to a feast. How could she eat if he got beaten to death? Really? Qin was overjoyed when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. He thought to himself, this girl sure knows what I'm doing. She's working with me to act cool the moment she arrived. Treating her to a few more meals wouldn't be a loss. With her around, wouldn't my heroic image be established? Sun Jingyi will also like me. Yeah, if you look at TV dramas, you are usually the male lead. Now is the time for the male lead to show his power. Hurry up and kill him. Xiao Xiao continued to bluff. This Xie Yufeng was really annoying, and Xiao Xiao was pissed off at him. She didn't have much time left, and Xiao Xiao wanted to enjoy her friendship and love in this limited time. But this Yufeng just had to come and mess with her, annoying her. This guy was wasting her life. Xiao Xiao didn't have time to deal with him. And so, from Xiao Xiao's point of view, if Iron Fist, who could cripple this Xie Yufeng and make him stay in the hospital for a year and a half, that'd be awesome. She'd be dead by the time he came out, and he wouldn't even be able to find her for revenge. He'd probably be in the hospital again. All right, no problem. Watch me teach this little bastard a lesson. Qin Tian was pumped up by Xiao Xiao's words. He raised his hand and smashed it at Yufeng. Yufeng's eyes were filled with venom. He hated Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to the core. These two came at the right time, right at the right time. Were they doing this on purpose? Moreover, this trap to smash the car, was it deliberately set up by them? Yufeng was furious, but his mind was clear. He knew that this wasn't a trap, and he could only treat it as a coincidence. A wise man knows when to retreat, and revenge is a dish best served cold. With that thought, Yufeng took a deep breath and looked at Qin Tian. Bro, how much is your car? I'll pay you. Pay? Do I look like a penniless person to you? Qin Tian raged. I'm using you to act cool. How am I supposed to act cool if you pay me? Qin Tian, naturally, wouldn't let this go so easily. Without waiting for him to speak, he started using his iron fist arts and started beating Yufeng up. Yufeng was humiliated. He was the young master of Haosyu, and he'd been beaten up twice in just 2 days. He'd even been injured once. How was he supposed to live like this? What kind of people did Lin Yi have around him? Why were they all like this? Yufeng didn't even have time to think before the fist landed on his body. He could only protect his vitals and crouch on the ground, not daring to fight back. He was afraid that Lin Yi would notice his chi. Lin Yi, just you wait. One day, I'll return the humiliation I've suffered today to you 10-fold, 100-fold. After a while, Qin Tian realized that Yufeng wasn't fighting back, and he felt that it was pointless. Beating a dead man didn't make him look heroic at all, so he kicked Yufeng when he was tired. Are you dead or not? If you're not, get up and pay me. Yufeng was a mystic early phase peak. How could he be knocked out so easily by a golden class early phase physical practitioner? He got up from the ground gloomily, took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and asked, How much? 5 million. Qin Tian called out. Wah! Yufeng paused. An Audi TT for 5 million? What kind of joke was this? 5 million was enough to buy 10 of them. Hurry up. Stop bullshitting. Do you want to get beaten up again? Did I not beat you up enough just now? Qin Tian glared at him angrily. You mother****. Yufeng couldn't take it anymore. A golden class, early phase physical practitioner dared to talk to him like this? Did he not want to live anymore? Yufeng was at his limit. He had an urge to kill this guy, even if he had to expose his strength. If Lin Yi interfered, he'd kill Lin Yi on the spot. Even if someone came to investigate, Yufeng could say that he didn't know Lin Yi's background. It was just a conflict that turned into a tragedy. He couldn't be blamed, right? He didn't do it on purpose. Plus, it was the enemy who started it. Song Ming saw that Yufeng was about to reveal his strength and jumped in fright. He ran over and grabbed Yufeng's hand. Master Xia, hold it in. We have to hold it in. Chapter 1050. His girlfriend admires others, but Lin Yi still killed Ubaid and injured Uncle Pai. And so, Yufeng knew that if he really killed Lin Yi today, it'd be fine if Lin Yi didn't have a strong background. But if he did, then Haosyu would be in danger after he killed Lin Yi. If the hidden Haosyu didn't come out, then the common world would be the one in trouble. With that thought, Yufeng gritted his teeth. All right, Song Ming, give him 5 million. Chintian was just saying it casually. Wasn't that what this thing was? He was asking for a high price, waiting for Xie Yufeng to pay him back. Chintian's bottom line was 500,000, and he only spent 500,000 on the car. He hadn't even registered it yet, so he didn't lose anything. But who knew that this idiot Yufeng would agree? Chintian was overjoyed. He didn't think that he could be this strong when he acted like a hero. The guy was scared. Yufeng transferred 5 million to Chintian's account and brought Song Ming and Penghu back to school depressed. He was a little confused. Back when he was studying in Yanjing, how prestigious was he? He didn't even need to use House Yu's name, and he was the king of the school. He didn't even need to use his qi to deal with the students, and he became the focus of the school. He could get whatever he wanted, and he could hook up with any girl he wanted. If it didn't work, he could just throw money at them. He was basically successful. But after arriving at Songshan, it seemed to have completely changed. His handsome face didn't work anymore, and the girls here seemed to have a problem with their taste. They all liked Lin Yi tough guys and not pretty boys like him? What kind of taste was that? Plus, the girls here didn't seem to like money, and his advantage was gone. Lin Yi, just you wait. Once I get to know your background, I'll take your life. And your girls, I'll take them all. Yufeng said angrily as he walked. Yeah, Lin Yi is too much. We'll kill him sooner or later. Song Ming said. On the other side, Chintian's Audi was smashed, and he couldn't drive it anymore. He could only ride with Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, can I ride with you? Chintian said, embarrassed. I can't drive this car anymore. Sun Jingyi naturally didn't want Chintian to ride with her, but she couldn't let him ride with Lin Yi either. Lin Yi and Chintian weren't close, and it wasn't guaranteed that Lin Yi didn't have a car. Jingyi didn't know that the Beetle was Lin Yi's car. Lin Yi, you sit in the front passenger seat. Sun Jingyi hesitated and said to Lin Yi, since Chintian's car couldn't be driven, she could only let him sit in her car. But Sun Jingyi definitely didn't want Chintian to sit next to her. Lin Yi's attention was on Yufeng and Chintian, and when he heard Sun Jingyi's words, he turned to look at Sun Jingyi. He was stunned. The person in front of him was Sun Jingyi, but compared to the Sun Jingyi he saw last time, she was much more youthful and lively. Sun Jingyi's appearance could be said to be very old-fashioned, pretending to be mature. But now it seemed that this was Sun Jingyi's true face. Right now, Sun Jingyi looked about the same age as Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. Even if she was older, it wouldn't be more than 1 or 2 years. Xiao Xiao looked at Sun Jingyi, then at Lin Yi, and couldn't help but frown. Just what was the relationship between this pretty girl and Lin Yi? Why did she let Lin Yi sit in the front passenger seat? They weren't here to ruin the good things between her and Lin Yi, were they? Xiao Xiao didn't want to fight with her love rival anymore. She didn't know how many days she had left to live, and if she wasted it on fighting with her love rival, how was she supposed to enjoy love? She just made friends with Tang Yun and Yushu, and she didn't have to worry about fighting with them. Where did this Sun Jingyi come from? Lin Yi, honey, what's your relationship with this pretty girl? Xiao Xiao whispered into Lin Yi's ear. Pretty girl. Lin Yi blinked, not sure if he should laugh or cry at the nickname Xiao Xiao gave Sun Jingyi. Nothing, just a fake lover to trick Chintian. Oh, Xiao Xiao calmed down after hearing that it was just a fake lover. As far as she was concerned, it didn't matter if it was real or fake. As long as it didn't threaten her position as a small wife, it didn't matter. And since Lin Yi was just Sun Jingyi's fake lover, Xiao Xiao naturally wouldn't worry about Sun Jingyi fighting with her. With that thought, Xiao Xiao agreed without hesitation. Then hurry up and sit in the front passenger seat. Then you'll sit in the back with Chintian? Lin Yi blinked, not expecting Xiao Xiao to be this generous. Yeah, that idiot just got 5 million. That's 5 million. I'll think of a way to get more, and then we'll be rich, Xiao Xiao said sneakily. Huh. Lin Yi smiled. 5 million wasn't much to Lin Yi, but since Xiao Xiao was so interested, Lin naturally wouldn't stop her from scamming people. Iron Fist bro, it's been a while since I talked to you. Let's sit in the back, and you can tell me more about your recent heroic deeds. Xiao Xiao smiled as she waved at Qintian. Her eyes squinted into a line, her face full of admiration. Qintian was still holding a grudge against Sun Jingyi, letting Lin sit in the front passenger seat. But after hearing Xiao Xiao's words, he started smiling again. If Xiao Xiao was in the back row, she'd be able to act cool with him, and that'd be a pretty good thing. It was much better than sitting in the front. With that thought, Qintian quickly nodded. All right, I'll tell you about some of the recent things. Sun Jingyi looked at Xiao Xiao and frowned. Was this girl Lin Yi's girlfriend or Qintian's pursuer? Why was she so passionate about Qintian in front of Lin Yi? What was going on? Is this your girlfriend? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi and asked softly. Yeah. Lin Yi didn't deny it. Since he'd accepted Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi naturally treated her as his girlfriend. Oh, but she seems to like Qintian a lot? Sun Jingyi reminded Lin Yi. Like him? Haha, you'll know soon. Lin Yi knew that Sun Jingyi meant well, so he wasn't angry. Chapter 1051. Chapter 1049. Xiao Xiao's true Golda got in the car, and Sun Jingyi asked directly, "Where are we going?" Ugh. Qintian wasn't familiar with Songshan, and it was a sudden idea to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal. He didn't know where exactly to eat, and now he was in a difficult spot. He couldn't just say he didn't know, could he? He could only laugh it off. There aren't any good restaurants in Songshan. It's far from Yanjing. That's true. The best hotel in Songshan is Starlight Hotel. It's a far cry from the big restaurant in Yanjing that Iron Fist bro treated us to last time. Xiao Xiao nodded. A high-class person like Iron Fist bro would definitely go to the best restaurant. Haha, it's not that high class. As long as Jingyi likes it, it's high class everywhere. Qintian was very pleased with Xiao Xiao's cooperation. But let's go to Starlight Hotel then. It's not as good as Yanjing, but it's a good place in the countryside. I often receive customers there. Qintian had a company in Songshan, and if he didn't know about the hotels in Songshan, wouldn't it be a little fake? In order to not arouse Sun Jingyi's suspicion, he followed Xiao Xiao's lead and went to Starlight Hotel. And he couldn't thank Xiao Xiao enough in his heart. She was so cooperative. Bro Qintian, what did you just say? Receive customers? Did you open a company here? Xiao Xiao asked. Qintian almost kneeled down and kowtowed at Xiao Xiao's words. You really are my mother. You know me too well. This level of cooperation was the best in the world. I was just about to bring the topic to my company. Haha, I opened a trading company. Here's my name card. With that, Qintian took out his name card box from his pocket and took out a few name cards, giving one each to Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi, and Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was driving, so after taking the name card, she threw it to the side. Lin Yi, on the other hand, took a look and put it in his pocket. Only Xiao Xiao, after taking the name card, opened her eyes wide in shock. Wow, is this the legendary gold-plated name card? I heard that only the CEOs of the world's top companies use such high-end business cards, right? This is the symbol of success. It's just a business card. Qintian was delighted. It's such a big company. It'd be weird if we didn't do something to show off. That's true. Xiao Xiao nodded. Looks like your company is pretty big, bro Qintian. You must be making a lot of money, right? It's all right. It's just some pocket money. Qintian nodded mysteriously. A day's worth of profit is only enough to buy a few Audi TTs. Wow, that's amazing. I had to save up for years just to afford an Audi TT, and you can buy a few in a day, bro Qintian? Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open, twinkling like little stars in her eyes. This is just the beginning. We'll make more money in the future. Qintian said proudly. Then should I call you bro Qintian or CEO Wu? Xiao Xiao asked. Haha, either is fine, either is fine. Chintian could feel the pores on his body opening up. This Xiao Xiao was practically made for his career as a pretentious prick. House Wu is one of the noble houses, and with their resources and connections, it's easy for them to start a company and make money. As long as you're not an idiot, you'll be able to make money. Sun Jingyi said coldly. Wah. Chintian froze, his face turning awkward. Sun Jingyi was right. If a noble house's heir started a business, they wouldn't lose money at all. They had connections all over the place, and as long as they found the right path, they'd be able to make a lot of money. But Chen Tian didn't have the heart to do business at all. He only started a company to show off in front of Sun Jingyi, so he was losing money instead of making a single cent. According to what Sun Jingyi said, he'd become an idiot and an idiot. But Chen Tian couldn't refute that, because it'd be confirming the fact that he was an idiot. That's true, but that depends on how much you earn. There aren't many people like you, bro Chen Tian, earning money every day, which means that you're a very powerful person. Xiao Xiao said. Chen Tian's face lit up with joy when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. This Xiao Xiao was just too much to his liking. Madam, that's great. She solved the awkwardness with just one sentence. She made him one of the best among the noble houses. Haha, I'm just a little bit stronger than the average person. Chintian said proudly. Yeah, didn't you see how domineering bro Chintian was when he taught those bastards a lesson? Xiao Xiao said in admiration. Bro Chintian said, Do I look like someone without money? So imposing. Haha, that's right, a bunch of bastards. Thinking that they'd lose money after wrecking my car? Dream on. If I didn't beat them up so badly that they couldn't even recognize each other, then I wouldn't be Iron Fist Wu. Chintian laughed heartily. He'd already accepted the nickname Iron Fist Wu. He felt that it was very domineering. Yeah, the money they paid was nothing to you, bro Chintian. It was just a day's profit, right? Xiao Xiao asked. Of course, 5 million is nothing to me. Chintian nodded in agreement. It's just a day's worth of profit, I guess. Yeah, that's what I said. Bro, Chintian asked them for money because he wanted to teach them a lesson so that they wouldn't wreck cars so easily in the future. Xiao Xiao nodded. That's right, or else 5 million wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Chintian said, acting cool. Oh, but 5 million is nothing to you, bro Chintian. But it's a lot of money to a poor person like me. Bro Chintian, why don't you give me the money and I'll buy a good car? It's not like you're interested in the money anyway. Xiao Xiao said seriously. Wah. Chintian's eyes went wide, stunned. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would ask him for money. Sun Jingyi was driving, and her hand shook when she heard Xiao Xiao's words. The car almost went off course. She finally understood what Xiao Xiao meant earlier. She was setting up a trap for Chintian. She pushed Chintian to a high point, and now he couldn't come back down. If he didn't pay up, then what he said before would just be bullshit. Chapter 1052. A step-by-step trap, and this trap was a step-by-step trap, making Chintian fall into the trap unknowingly. He wasn't prepared at all. Boiling a frog in warm water pushed Chintian to a new height. If he didn't agree to Xiao Xiao's request, then his high and mighty image would crumble instantly, and he would fall from his high position. Jingyi knew very well what kind of person Chintian was. He liked to show off, and in a nice way he liked to be in the limelight, but in a bad way he liked to show off. It wasn't very elegant for a girl to say it, but it made sense. Xiao Xiao had been working with Chintian to act cool the whole time, making Chintian look like an extremely powerful businessman, earning tons of money every day. He didn't even care about 5 million. Sun Jingyi understood why Chintian would brag in front of her. He wanted to show off in front of her so that she would worship him. But Chintian's idea was a failure. Sun Jingyi knew what kind of person he was, and Sun Jingyi didn't like people like him at all. Sun Jingyi liked smart men, but of course they had to have strength as well. From the looks of it, Lin Yi agreed with the first point, but whether or not he had the strength remained to be seen. In Sun Jingyi's eyes, Lin Yi was just a backup boyfriend, so Sun Jingyi didn't care about the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. She hadn't made up her mind yet, so there was no need for her to participate in the competition. Even if she had made up her mind, Sun Jingyi wasn't confident that Lin Yi would be able to get her family's approval. So, under these circumstances, Sun Jingyi wouldn't do anything. From her perspective, from the day she left home, she only had two choices for love. One was to find a man strong enough, stronger than Qintian, and shut her family up completely. The other way was to find a man that she liked, secretly be with him and live a shady life. At least on the surface, this relationship couldn't be made public. It wasn't a big deal to Sun Jingyi, but she was afraid that her family would secretly take revenge on that man. That was the same as harming others. In order to prevent this from happening, if Sun Jingyi chose the second path, she would willingly give up her identity and position, willingly becoming a secret lover. At least on the surface, she had to let that man have a normal and complete family, in order to confuse House Sun's eyes. As for eloping, Sun Jingyi didn't even think about it. It wasn't realistic. The Sun family's connections and ears were very wide. They could hide it for a while, but they couldn't hide it forever. There would be a day when it would be exposed. At that time, there would be big trouble. Sometimes, Sun Jingyi was very sad. Her parents were dead, and her position in the Sun family was a little unloved. If it weren't for the fact that old Sun was still alive and doted on her a lot, her uncles and aunts would have pushed her to the edge a long time ago. Doing business in Songshan without elder Sun's permission, she would have been captured and married to Qintian a long time ago. How could she wait for Qintian to chase after her? So, in Sun Jingyi's heart, she had a natural dislike for Qintian, not to mention liking him. Now that Qintian was humiliated in front of Xiao Xiao, she was very happy to see it. It'd be best if Xiao Xiao came every day to humiliate Qintian, making him unable to stay in Songshan anymore. Qintian's face was red, and he didn't know how to answer. Yes, he was a little reckless, but no matter how reckless he was, he knew that money was a good thing. The money he brought from the Wu family to pick up girls was only 10 million yuan. Now he had 5 million yuan in his account. He was feeling smug and was thinking of using the 5 million yuan to show off. In the end, he did show off, but it didn't achieve the effect he had expected. In his opinion, he would have to show off a few times, right? Now, it was all used up after one time. Wasn't it a little too expensive? At this rate, he wouldn't be able to use the 10 million twice. But some things had already been said, and if he went back on his words now, not only would he lose his image, but he was also worried that Xiao Xiao would get angry and not cooperate with him anymore. How would his heroic image stand out then? With that thought, Qintian could only bear with the pain. He gritted his teeth and put on a nonchalant smile. It's fine, it's fine. It's just 5 million, right? It's nothing. Give me your card number. I'll transfer it to you right now. Haha, I knew it. Bro, Qintian is really generous. Anyone who marries a man like you would be happy. They'd probably die from happiness. Xiao Xiao said happily, but it was a little ironic. Happy would die. That's right. Anyone who marries Qintian would probably really die. He didn't even do anything, and he'd already given away 5 million. If this went on, wouldn't he lose all his wealth? Who would want to marry a man like this? Sun Jingyi could hear the sarcasm in her words as well, and she couldn't help but find it funny. This Xiao Xiao was really smart, not taking advantage of the situation. What was even funnier was that the idiot Qintian didn't notice anything amiss. He was grinning like an idiot. Haha, don't fall for me. I already have someone I like. Qintian was very satisfied with Xiao Xiao's compliment, and he made the call with a smile. Sun Jingyi glanced at Lin Yi and saw that he was calm, as if he was used to this kind of thing. She couldn't help but frown, and she became even more curious about Lin Yi. 5 million wasn't much to House Sun, but to Sun Jingyi It was a huge sum of money. Sun Jingyi's trading company didn't even make 5 million a year, and Lin Yi's wife could easily scam 5 million. But Lin Yi didn't seem to care at all. Was he pretending to be calm, or did he not care about the money at all? Xiao Xiao looked like she was born in a rich family, but not a very rich one. Otherwise, she wouldn't be interested in Qin Tian's 5 million. But Lin Yi didn't care about it. What a strange combination. Sun Jingyi drove into the parking lot of Starlight Hotel and parked the car in an empty spot. Chapter 1053. Keep screwing over, sir. Is there a total of 4? A waiter came over the moment they entered the hotel lobby, asking Qin Tian and Lin. Yes, give us a room. Qin Tian nodded. Sir, you 4 are here for breakfast, right? Why don't you take a booth? There's a minimum fee for a room, and it's quiet at this hour. There's no one. The waiter reminded them, kindly. After all, it was early in the morning, and people usually came to the hotel for breakfast. Breakfast didn't cost much, and they couldn't spend tens of thousands all of a sudden. It wasn't even enough to cover the minimum fee for a room. Qin Tian frowned when he heard this. He'd spent so much effort to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal, and he was here to show off. But the waiter's words made him feel like the waiter was looking down on him. What kind of status did he have? He was the grandson of the noble House Wu. Why would he care about the minimum fee? And with his current identity, he was the big boss of Songshan City. He could afford to eat a meal here. What's the minimum fee? Qin Tian frowned, impatient. The waiter here was good at reading people's body language, and he knew that Qin Tian was getting impatient. He didn't care about the minimum fee. He was rich. But the doorman told him that they came in an Audi A4L. How much was an Audi A4L? Even if they were rich, they might not be able to spend tens of thousands on a meal, right? At that thought, the waiter wasn't sure about Qin Tian's spending level. The rooms here were separated into different classes, and if he said too much, he was afraid that Qin Tian wouldn't be able to afford it. He'd lose face, and if he said too little, he was afraid that Qin Tian would think that he was looking down on him. Qin Tian Bro is a big boss. His name card is made of gold. Why would he care about the minimum fee? Xiao Xiao spoke up. Today, Qin Tian Bro's car got smashed, and they paid him 5 million, but he didn't even look at it before giving it to me. You're questioning someone like him for not being able to afford the minimum fee? Qin Tian looked at Xiao Xiao, thinking you really know how to fight for me, aren't you? Very good. It seems that this 5 million is not a loss. If you can build up my image in front of Sun Jingyi today and let me win her heart, then this money will not be wasted. Ah, the waiter paused. So, he drove an Audi A4L here because his car was smashed. What kind of car could be smashed and get 5 million yuan as compensation? No matter what, it should be at the level of Bentley or Rolls-Royce, right? Plus, Qin Tian didn't even care about the compensation, giving it to the people around him. Just how rich was he? Are business cards made of gold? Now, that 1 gram of gold had risen to more than 300 yuan. A business card should be at least 2 or 3 grams, right? Then, the cost would be over 1,000 yuan. Is this a business card? If an ordinary person obtained a business card, wouldn't they become rich? It seemed like the people Qin Tian interacted with were all important people, or else people would be fighting over his name card. Rich people, definitely rich people. The waiter thought about this and quickly said, Sir, the most luxurious room here is the Crystal Palace on the top floor. It's currently vacant, but the minimum fee is 500,000. 500,000? The minimum fee was 500,000. Qin Tian froze. This restaurant sure was shady. He had only brought 10 million with him. After deducting the 1 million used to open Xiao Wangba's company and buy a car, he only had 8 million left. This meal had already cost him 500,000. Wasn't that a little too much? From what Qin Tian saw, a small rural place like Songshan was a world of difference from Yanjing. Even the most expensive restaurant would only cost 30 to 50,000 at most. How much more expensive could it be? The 8 million he had was enough for him to show off a few times. But now it seemed like the situation was different. The waiter heard Chintian say 500,000 and didn't say anything else, thinking that Chintian thought that 500,000 was too little. She quickly added, "Of course, 500,000 for a meal isn't enough to show how noble you are, sir. After all, there are only 4 of you this time, and no matter how expensive the food is, it won't cost too much. Of course, of course." Chintian relaxed when the waiter changed his words. This waiter was quite perceptive, seeing that he thought 500,000 was too much. Perfect. He wouldn't lose face if she said it out loud. She was right. There were only 4 of them, and they couldn't eat that much. No matter how expensive the food was, it wouldn't cost too much. Chintian was feeling proud of himself when he heard the waiter continue. "Even if all 4 of you want bird's nest, shark's fin, abalone, and sea cucumber, 500,000 is the most you can ask for. So, I recommend that you get a VIP card here, sir. As long as you deposit 5 million, you can enjoy the treatment of a VIP, and you can reserve the best rooms in the Crystal Palace at any time. There's no minimum spending limit for any room, and you can even enjoy a 20% discount on all the dishes. This is exclusive to VIPs." This VIP card seemed to offer discounts, but it reflected the privileged identity of a VIP. So, in the eyes of the rich, it wasn't that they were looking down on them, but that they had the right to stand out from the masses. Moreover, not everyone could take out 5 million to apply for a meal card. Those who could take out this much money to apply for a card when they went to the Crystal Palace's private room, who would have the nerve to order those cheap dishes? A meal that cost a few thousand would be too embarrassing to eat in the Crystal Palace. Wah! Chintian was dumbfounded. 5 million? Apply for a VIP card? Are you kidding me? 500,000 was already a lot, and now 5 million? Was this a scam? However, the reason he came out today was to establish his image and show off. If he flinched at the mention of 5 million, then his previous image would have been in vain. So he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. 5 million is a piece of cake, but I'm usually too busy with business, and I don't have many meals in Songshan. After this 5 million card is completed, I'll probably only use it once. After that, who knows where it'll go? Chintian was trying to say, "Hurry up and bring us to the room. I don't care about the discount, but I don't want the hassle of eating here, even if I get a card." "I see." The waiter nodded, not suspecting anything, but she was a little disappointed. After all, she would get a portion of the reward for getting a card. Chapter 1054. Chapter 1052. Waste 5 million inch. Chintian's expression was weird. He was a little angry. This Xiao Xiao, even if she wanted to play along with him, she had to understand the situation first. He clearly didn't have that much money, so why did he need to get a card? That was 5 million. How could he not care? But now, Chintian felt like he was being forced into a corner. He really had to get this card. Since he'd already given her 5 million, he didn't need another 5 million. "Foam girl, I've spent a lot of money on you today. You need to build up your image. Whether or not I can get Sunjingi is all up to you." Chintian gritted his teeth. "All right, I'll get a card then." "All right, sir, please follow me." The waiter was overjoyed when he heard that Chintian had changed his mind. He was a little envious of Xiao Xiao. This Chintian really was a rich landowner. He was so rich. He'd spent 5 million just like that. The VIP card didn't have to be 5 million. The lowest was 1 million, but he wouldn't get a discount. But Chintian acted like he was rich the moment he walked in, so the waiter recommended him the highest level card. "Xiao Xiao, go do it." Chintian's heart was bleeding, but he had to be a good person to the end. He'd already promised Xiao Xiao, so he could only let her do it. Qin Tian regretted it a little. If he'd known this would happen, he would have just nodded and agreed to it. That way, the card would still be his. But now it was Xiao Xiao's after a few words of bullshit. He'd spent 5 million for nothing. He'd spent 10 million in this short amount of time. Did this Xiao Xiao really think he was that rich? But it seemed like his image in her heart was indeed that rich. Otherwise, why would Xiao Xiao worship him so much? Why would she always say nice things about him in front of Sun Jingyi? In fact, if it weren't for Sun Jingyi being there and Xiao Xiao not being Lin Yi's girlfriend, Qin Tian would have dragged her to the hotel and pushed her onto the bed a long time ago, based on how much Xiao Xiao worshipped Qin Tian. But now Qin Tian didn't dare. One reason was that Sun Jingyi was here, and he didn't dare do anything that would make Sun Jingyi misunderstand or dislike him. The second reason was that if he pushed Xiao Xiao down, Lin Yi would have even more reason to get close to Sun Jingyi. If he pushed Xiao Xiao to his side and told Sun Jingyi about it, the two of them would be a couple, and Qin Tian would be in big trouble. Sun Jingyi smiled coldly at Qin Tian's retarded actions. With your standard, you still want to chase after me? Dream on. Sun Jingyi finally understood how powerful Xiao Xiao was. It hadn't been long, and Qin Tian had already spent 10 million. Lin Yi knew Xiao Xiao's personality from the start. She was one of those unlucky people who bumped into her. Other than not messing with Lin Yi, she would mess with whoever she didn't like. After getting the card, Xiao Xiao happily came back with the waitress. Qin Tian transferred the money again. His heart hurt. Fortunately, Xiao Xiao praised him a few more times, and he was over the moon again. Now that the 5 million card was in Xiao Xiao's hands, she wouldn't spend it recklessly. She wanted it to be a long time. No matter how unlucky she was, she could at least live for a month or two, right? Lunch and dinner were settled for this month or two, and this made Xiao Xiao extremely happy. Naturally, she couldn't spend it all in one day. So Xiao Xiao waved her hand. The Crystal Palace's room is a bit too big for the four of us. It's too spacious. Let's change to a smaller room. Qin Tian almost spat out blood after hearing Xiao Xiao's words. They already got the 5 million card. Why didn't they experience the VIP treatment of the Crystal Palace? Why did they have to change to a smaller room? Although the Crystal Palace didn't have a minimum spending limit, it wouldn't look good to only order 10 or 20,000. Xiao Xiao naturally had to be careful with what she got, and so she asked for a smaller room. It didn't matter if she spent less money that way. Qin Tian wanted to retort, but he was afraid that Xiao Xiao would be pissed if he did, and she wouldn't play along with him when they ate. He stopped himself and changed his words. All right, let's go to a smaller room then. It'll be quieter and less crowded. Yes, sir. The waiter didn't care. The 5 million yuan card was already made. It didn't matter where the customers wanted to go. Anyway, the 5 million yuan was definitely going to be spent here. As for whether they ate this time or not, it didn't matter. They entered the room, and the waitress took out the menu for Qin Tian to order. Jingyi, Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi, Lil Bro, what do you guys want to eat? Qin Tian flipped open the menu, his eyes going back and forth between the expensive delicacies. He'd already spent 5 million, and he could only eat it once. Naturally, he wanted more delicious food to enjoy. That was his own money. There were many delicacies that he hadn't tried before, and he wanted to try them all today. Even if he didn't spend all 5 million, he had to spend at least 3 million. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Xiao Xiao held her card in her hand, getting nervous when she saw Qin Tian ordering those expensive dishes. She wanted to spend it slowly. She didn't want to spend it all in one day. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao, finding it funny, but he still said, "We don't want the seafood. Xiao Xiao is allergic to it. She got sick after eating seafood in Yanjing last time." Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's words and gave him a thumbs up under the table. Lin Yi's honey was so awesome. She was just thinking about how to get Qin Tian to order less, and Lin Yi helped. No wonder that Yushu girl liked to stick to Lin Yi so much. Lin Yi's methods were top-notch as well. Ah, Qintian paused, his face turning bitter. I can't eat seafood? Then, what other expensive dishes are there? In the restaurant, the most expensive dishes were all related to seafood. So of course the seafood wasn't allowed. It's early in the morning. Let's eat something light. Forget about the big fish and meat. Sun Jingyi was a shrewd person. How could she not see what Xiao Xiao was thinking? Since Lin Yi was helping her, Sun Jingyi wouldn't mind helping her screw Qintian over. Sun Jingyi thought that she was on Lin Yi's side. As for Qintian, go play somewhere else. Chapter 1055. Admitting her identity Sun Jingyi smiled and took the menu, ordering a few dishes that were relatively light. They weren't very cheap, but compared to the delicacies, it was extremely cheap. The dishes added up to less than 8,000. This made Qintian's face change slightly, but these dishes were ordered by Sun Jingyi. What could he say? What could he say? Take a look. Sun Jingyi passed the menu to Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't look at it and passed it to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao didn't hold back and ordered a few of her favorite dishes, but they weren't very expensive. They were all cheap and delicious. As for the weird dishes, Xiao Xiao naturally didn't order them. After all, it was her own money now. She had to live a long life. That's all. Xiao Xiao said and passed the menu back to the waiter. Qintian wanted to add a few more, but before he could say anything, Xiao Xiao continued. Big bro Qintian is a big boss. He's sick of eating those single-headed abalones. There's nothing good here, so why not change to something lighter? Otherwise, ordering too many delicacies will ruin big bro Qintian's image. Wah! Qintian froze and waved his hand with a smile. That's right. These things are too crappy. It's better to eat something lighter. It's early in the morning, and it's bad for your stomach. The waiter didn't think there was anything wrong with it. The guy had already made a 5 million VIP card. He could eat whatever he wanted. Even if he didn't want to eat, he had to greet him with a smile if he wanted a few free plates. 5 million, just like that, was enough to show off Qintian's wealth. Who would spend money like this without a few 100 million? The waiter took the menu and left the room. Qintian's heart ached for a while before he remembered today's business. Today he wanted to invite Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to prove their relationship in front of Sun Jingyi. If this was done, then his 10 million wouldn't be wasted. Old bro Lin Yi, this is the first time Xiao Xiao has met Jingyi, right? As the host, let me introduce them to you. With that, Qintian stood up with a smile and introduced her to Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, this is Lin Yi's girlfriend, Feng Xiao Xiao. We met at the auction in Yanjing, and we got along quite well. Hello, Xiao Xiao. You don't mind me calling you that, do you? Sun Jingyi smiled as she extended her hand to Xiao Xiao. This was their first official meeting. If you don't mind, I'll call you Big Sis Jingyi. Xiao Xiao had found out about Sun Jingyi's identity from Lin Yi, and she didn't rule her out either. As long as they weren't here to cause trouble between her and Lin Yi, Xiao Xiao would accept them easily. Hee, then I'll call you little sister Xiao Xiao. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded. Xiao Xiao, this is Sun Jingyi, she's… Jingyi, how should I introduce you to Lin Yi? Qintian looked at Sun Jingyi with a troubled expression, giving this difficult problem to Sun Jingyi. Qintian was a little arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. At least he knew that letting Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi come to eat with Sun Jingyi and expose the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi was a strategy. At this time, putting out the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi and letting Sun Jingyi explain herself was also a strategy. This also meant that Qintian still had some tricks up his sleeves. It was just that Qintian was usually arrogant and liked to act cool, which was why he suffered so many losses in front of Xiao Xiao. Speaking of which, Xiao Xiao had the title of Little Witch in school. How many people hadn't been taken advantage of by her? I'm Lin Yi's lover. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded at Xiao Xiao. Wah! Qintian's eyes widened. He never would have thought that Sun Jingyi would say that she was Lin Yi's lover in front of Xiao Xiao. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Would Xiao Xiao be willing? Would she be able to continue eating? Qin Tian didn't know what Sun Jingyi was thinking. She still dared to say that she was Lin Yi's lover in a situation like this? Before, Qin Tian thought that Lin Yi was two-timing, and Sun Jingyi didn't know about Lin Yi's ugly side. So he wanted Xiao Xiao and Sun Jingyi to meet, and when Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi had a new lover, she definitely chased Lin Yi away in anger. But things developed out of Qin Tian's expectations. When Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao holding hands in front of her, Sun Jingyi didn't seem to care at all. Of course, Qin Tian didn't think that this would happen. As far as he was concerned, this meant that Sun Jingyi had nothing to do with Lin Yi, and the so-called relationship with Lin Yi was just a facade. Lin Yi was just someone she'd grabbed, and so Qin Tian was very happy. Now, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have an excuse to reject him anymore. But now, something unexpected happened. Sun Jingyi said that she was Lin Yi's lover. What was going on? I've heard a lot about you. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, extended her hand to Jingyi with a serious face. I'll be counting on you, Jingyi sis. You guys? Qin Tian rubbed his eyes. He thought he was dreaming. Why wasn't Xiao Xiao angry? Why was she acting so friendly with Sun Jingyi? What was the meaning of this? What about us? Qin Tian bro? Xiao Xiao pretended like she didn't know anything and smiled at Qin Tian. How could you let your boyfriend find a lover? Qin Tian was flabbergasted as he asked. Oh, what's wrong with finding a lover? If he didn't find a lover, would I be his girlfriend? I'm just Lin Yi's second wife, not the main wife. Even the main wife doesn't object to him finding a second wife. Why would I object? Xiao Xiao explained. Huh. Qin Tian was even more shocked. This Xiao Xiao wasn't Lin Yi's main wife. She was also Lin Yi's second wife. But as shocked as Qin Tian was, Sun Jingyi was even more shocked. She said that she was Lin Yi's lover, but it was just an agreement with Lin Yi. She was Lin Yi's lover in name, not in reality. Sun Jingyi liked Lin Yi, but before she made up her mind, she wouldn't go any further with Lin Yi. Chapter 1056. So depressing from Sun Jingyi's point of view, it was normal for a man to have multiple wives in a noble house. After all, the men from noble houses were very capable, so it wasn't strange at all. But in the common world, it was a little strange. Wulian people had their own rules, and the common world had its own rules. Every level was different. Sun Jingyi couldn't imagine that Lin Yi had multiple wives at such a young age. And from Xiao Xiao's reaction, it could be seen that her relationship with the first wife was very good, and she didn't object to Lin Yi finding another lover. There were only two possibilities that could cause such a situation. One was that these women were idiots that couldn't find a boyfriend, so they were willing to share a man. But the possibility of this was zero. How outstanding was Xiao Xiao? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that a girl as beautiful as her was 1 in a million. Looking at Xiao Xiao, the first wife couldn't be any worse. Why would a girl like her need to share a man with someone else? The second possibility was that Lin Yi was too outstanding, and these outstanding girls were willing to sacrifice themselves for him. This was the situation in noble houses. But until now, Sun Jingyi didn't think that Lin Yi was outstanding in any way. Was being a bandit a promising career? Jingyi frowned inwardly. She was getting more and more curious about this man. This man seemed to have a lot of secrets on him. Jingyi, you're from a noble house too. How can you be someone else's lover? Qin Tian's heart was bleeding. He was furious. Sun Jingyi was willing to be a lover for a little tramp, rather than marry him legally? Why? Was he that weak? On the surface, however, he still had to put on the airs of a big brother as he lectured Jingyi. Lil Bro Lin Yi is a great man, but having too many wives is just a waste of a family's harmony. And Jingyi, Think about it. If you were to be someone else's lover and Grandpa's son found out, wouldn't he be furious? Really? Couldn't they be lovers? I remember that Grandpa Wu seems to have several wives, right? Sun Jingyi said disapprovingly. Ugh. Qintian paused, his face bitter. Isn't this a different situation? Our Wu family is also an aristocratic family, and aristocratic families are not restricted by the rules of the secular world. Naturally, we can find a few more wives. And the most important thing is that my grandpa is very strong. Those wives don't dare to plot against each other. They are very respectful in front of my grandma. Oh, I'm also from an aristocratic family, so I'm not restricted, Sun Jingyi said lightly. Aye. Qin Tian's face turned ugly. He didn't think that Sun Jingyi would be this stubborn. He told her that Lin Yi was just a normal person, and he couldn't play with so many wives. They'd definitely fight. But in front of Lin Yi, he couldn't say that Lin Yi was useless. If he said that, he'd offend Lin Yi, and when Lin Yi left with Xiao Xiao, wouldn't it be awkward? And if Sun Jingyi left with Lin Yi, it'd be even worse. At that moment, the waiter came in with the dishes. Qintian could only shut his mouth and think of a solution, depressed. What was he supposed to do to turn Jingyi's mind around? Damn it, this Xiao Xiao wasn't jealous at all, and Sun Jingyi was even crazier. She wanted to be Lin Yi's lover. What was so good about this Lin Yi? Qintian couldn't see any good points about Lin Yi, no matter how he looked at him. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi, Qintian really wanted to slap Lin Yi to death, so that he wouldn't get angry in front of him. The dishes were served, and Xiao Xiao didn't care anymore. She ate to her heart's content, sweeping everything on the table clean. She didn't care what other people thought of her. She didn't have long to live, and as long as Lin Yi didn't dislike her, she'd be fine. But Lin Yi was here to eat with Xiao Xiao, and the main goal was to eat. Not only did Lin Yi take the initiative to put food in Xiao Xiao's bowl, but he also told her to eat more. And so Xiao Xiao ate happily. Sun Jingyi didn't eat much, and she was full after eating a little. Qintian, on the other hand, didn't eat at all. He was feeling depressed. How could he eat? The situation was far from what he expected. As for asking Xiao Xiao to help him act cool, Qintian temporarily gave up on that idea. Jingyi's heart wasn't on him at all, so there was no point in acting cool. What should he do? Qintian furrowed his brows. The most important thing right now was Xiao Xiao's attitude. If she strongly rejected Sun Jingyi, or urged Lin Yi to draw a line with Sun Jingyi, then he could still do something. Otherwise, he had no hope at all. The other method was to call Sun Jingyi's family and tell them that Sun Jingyi was someone else's mistress. But this was a method he couldn't use unless he had no other choice. If Sun Jingyi knew the truth, she'd hate Qintian even more. Tattling behind someone's back was a taboo. Some people were happy while others were sad. Xiao Xiao ate happily and Qintian was depressed. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were watching him make a fool of himself. Qintian had prepared a few tricks to act cool before he came, but he didn't use any of them. He didn't have the mood to use them now. Even with Xiao Xiao's cooperation, there was no point in showing it off. Sun Jingyi's heart wasn't on him. The meal ended in a hurry, and Qintian got himself a taxi and left. Jingyi, on the other hand, drove Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi back to school. Once in the car, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but laugh. She gave Xiao Xiao a thumbs up. Lil sis Xiao Xiao, you sure know how to trick people. Qintian lost 10 million in one morning. Ha ha ha. Xiao Xiao smiled, pleased with herself. She was quite confident when it came to scamming people. But a fool like Qintian was a rare sight to see. Chapter 1057. More and more curious, sure. Xiao Xiao easily agreed to Sun Jingyi's invitation and sat in the front seat of the Audi A4L. Lin Yi didn't mind, since he could guess Sun Jingyi's goal. Xiao Xiao herself wasn't that familiar to Lin Yi, so Lin Yi wasn't worried that she'd let anything slip. After getting in the car, Sun Jingyi asked, "Where are you guys going?" Back to where you were before. Yeah, back to Songshan's first school, Xiao Xiao nodded. Oh, okay, where do you guys live? Sun Jingyi asked. We go to school there. Xiao Xiao blurted out, but regretted it immediately. Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid. She knew that she'd fallen into Sun Jingyi's trap. Sun Jingyi was testing her and Lin Yi's identity. From the current situation, it seemed like Sun Jingyi didn't know that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were studying at Songshan's first school. Xiao Xiao turned to look at Lin Yi, a little worried. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't show anything special, he was still resting in the back seat with his eyes closed. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. In fact, the reason why Lin Yi hid his identity was because he was afraid that Sun Jingyi would keep bothering him if she found out where he went to school. That half-lover's promise was a bit of a tie. If Sun Jingyi came to Lin Yi for trouble in the future, would Lin Yi be able to do anything else? Therefore, Lin Yi didn't tell Sun Jingyi that he was a student of First Senior High School. He only told Sun Jingyi to wait for him near First Senior High School. However, during this period of time, Sun Jingyi didn't bother Lin Yi again. So it seemed that Sun Jingyi wasn't the kind of person who would trouble Lin Yi for anything. So, Lin Yi didn't mind telling Sun Jingyi his identity. You are studying in First High School? Are you all high school students? Sun Jingyi was taken aback. She previously thought that Lin Yi should be younger than her, but that was also her age after she dressed up. In her opinion, Lin Yi should be about the same age as her actual age, around 20 years old. She never thought that Lin Yi was only a high school student. Wasn't the disparity too great? Lin Yi was actually a student. How was this possible? Wasn't he a great bandit? Yes, a high school student. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't have any special expression, Xiao Xiao told Sun Jingyi the truth. Oh my God! Sun Jingyi confirmed this information and was a little embarrassed. She was already 20 years old. How could she have feelings for a guy younger than her? Ugh. Then why are you Lin Yi's small wife? He has a big wife. Sun Jingyi quickly changed the topic. Yes, he has a big wife, and I'm his small wife. Xiao Xiao nodded quickly. Aren't you Lin Yi's lover too? This lover is only half. It's just a name, Sun Jingyi explained. It's just because Wu Qintian is too clingy I use Lin Yi as a shield. Oh, I see. Xiao Xiao was a little disappointed. I thought I could play 3P with you. Xiao Xiao had gotten bolder after spending more time with Yushu. She was actually quite curious about the 3 batches. After all, she didn't have much time left. She wanted to try anything new. She could tell that Tang Yin was a more traditional and conservative girl. She wouldn't play 3P with her in such a short amount of time. Even if she was alone with Lin Yi, Tang Yin probably wasn't ready yet. As for Yushu, Lin Yi clearly didn't have that kind of feelings for her yet. How could Xiao Xiao not see that? If Lin Yi had that kind of feelings, Meng Yao and Yushu would have been pushed down by Lin Yi a long time ago. After all, they lived in the same villa and interacted with each other every day. And so Xiao Xiao turned her attention to Sun Jingyi. Xiao Xiao was actually quite conservative, but the current situation didn't allow her to be conservative anymore. As far as she was concerned, since she had already decided on Lin Yi, it didn't matter what she did with him. She wouldn't be able to do anything with other men in this lifetime anyway, so she decided to be bold. Wah! Sun Jingyi almost drove the car into the pavement after hearing Xiao Xiao's shocking words. She subconsciously stepped on the brakes. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned bitterly. Xiao Xiao and Yushu were becoming more and more alike. He really didn't know if getting them together was a blessing or a curse. But the good thing was that Xiao Xiao didn't have much longer to live. But at the thought, Lin Yi's heart tightened. Was it really good? Lin Yi really didn't want Xiao Xiao to leave. Even if she did it with Yushu, Lin Yi didn't want to lose her. It had only been 2 days, and Xiao Xiao's position in Lin Yi's heart was getting more and more important. Especially when he heard that Xiao Xiao had woken up in the middle of the night to make him pastries. especially this morning. Lin Yi was extremely touched. And so, Lin Yi really wanted Xiao Xiao to live. Lin Yi sighed softly, starting to worry. Haha, I'm just joking. Xiao Xiao quickly shut up after seeing that Sun Jingyi was scared by her words. Haha, it's nothing, it's pretty fun. Sun Jingyi wiped the sweat off her forehead. 3 batches. What a shocking idea. Sun Jingyi came from a noble house, but she was actually quite conservative. Her grandfather and uncles had multiple women, but they didn't say 3 batches at the same time. But at the end of the day, it was still because women didn't get along with each other on the surface, and no one would really try to get close to another person. It was just that in noble houses, the men were more dominant. And so Sun Jingyi grew up in an environment like this, and she didn't really mind men having multiple wives. This was also why she wanted to be someone else's mistress. But that man had to be someone Sun Jingyi liked. Someone as mediocre as Iron Fist Wu. Sun Jingyi would be depressed for the rest of her life if she married him. Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi glanced at the resting Lin Yi in the rearview mirror, and her curiosity towards Lin Yi grew even stronger. Just what did Lin Yi do to make Xiao Xiao fall in love with him like this? Sun Jingyi could feel that Xiao Xiao really didn't have any hostility towards her at all. In fact, she had the intention to accept her. This situation made Sun Jingyi very confused. Even the concubines of the past emperors were all scheming against each other, let alone the women of noble houses. She had never heard of any of them getting along with each other. But Lin Yi did it. Lin Yi. Just what kind of unknown ability did he have? Chapter 1058. Chapter 1056. Not much time. Jingyi sis, let's keep in touch. I quite like you, Xiao Xiao said seriously. It seemed like she still hadn't forgotten about the 3 batches plan. She wanted to put it into practice before she died. Okay. Sun Jingyi smiled faintly. She didn't mind keeping in touch with Xiao Xiao, but she wanted to know more about Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi felt like she'd underestimated Lin Yi. This guy wasn't as simple as he looked. You should consider my suggestion. I don't have much time left, Xiao Xiao said anxiously. You don't have much time left? Sun Jingyi paused. Lin Yi, who was sitting in the back seat, opened his eyes abruptly. Huh. Yeah, I'm a 12th grader already. Maybe I'll go to university somewhere else. And I won't be able to see you so often. Xiao Xiao realized that she'd let the cat out of the bag, but she was smart enough to change the topic. Oh, university, haha. But I'm afraid I can't accept your suggestion for now. Jingyi shrugged apologetically. She was a natural and poised person, and wouldn't be too shy even when the topic was brought up. If Lin Yi could really move Sun Jingyi's heart, then Sun Jingyi might be able to accept Xiao Xiao's suggestion, but now wasn't the time. Lin Yi closed his eyes again. He knew that Xiao Xiao had let the cat out of the bag, but he'd recovered in time. People who didn't know the truth might get tricked by her. Lin Yi sighed softly. Xiao Xiao's suggestion had moved Lin Yi, but Lin Yi couldn't help her fulfill her wish. If Xiao Xiao could keep living, perhaps there would be such a day, but in terms of time there wasn't enough time at all. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a principled man. He wouldn't force her to do anything. His occupation made it so that he couldn't think with the lower half of his body. This time, the car didn't stop at the snack street behind the school, but directly at the entrance of the first high school. Goodbye, Jingyi sis, remember to text me. Xiao Xiao and Sun Jingyi had established a relationship very easily, and she was saying goodbye reluctantly. Lin Yi realized that if Xiao Xiao wanted to make friends, it would be very easy. Her personality had always been lively, and she could easily get other people's approval. All right. Sun Jingyi nodded and looked at Lin Yi worried. Wu Qintian won't let this go easily. I'm afraid he'll cause you trouble. Oh, whatever. I'm not afraid of him. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently. Don't underestimate him. Qintian may look dumb, but he's still from a noble house. You know the power of noble houses. Right, you said that you guys met at the auction in Yanjing? San Jingyi wanted to tell Lin Yi about the power of noble houses, but she remembered that Qin Tian said that he met Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao at the auction in Yanjing. San Jingyi found it strange at that time. Wasn't the auction in Yanjing the one house you held? San Jingyi was from House Sun, and naturally she knew about the auction. Although she didn't attend, she knew that the people who attended the auction were either rich or powerful. Other than noble houses, the people who could attend the auction were all people with power and background. But Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, how could they attend the auction? San Jingyi was curious and wanted to ask, but Qin Tian was there, so she couldn't. Now that she thought about it, she was confused. I went with a friend. Lin Yi smiled and said faintly. Lin Yi didn't tell San Jingyi too much about his company. After all, their relationship hadn't reached that level yet. To put it bluntly, the feeling that San Jingyi gave Lin Yi at first was only slightly more familiar than a passerby. She wasn't even as familiar as Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi felt that his relationship with Wang Xinyan was closer. After all, she was the first girl Lin Yi met after coming to Songshan. She was kind, and Lin Yi liked her more than San Jingyi. At least that was the case now. Wang Xinyan and Lin Yi didn't have any benefits involved. It was a one-sided relationship, just like when Wang Xinyan reminded Lin Yi that there was a scammer on the train. She didn't expect anything from Lin Yi. But San Jingyi was different. When San Jingyi first met Lin Yi, her goal was clear. She wanted Lin Yi to pretend to be her boyfriend and chase Qin Tian away. What happened after that was the same. She hired Lin Yi to steal her competitor's recording. But in exchange, she became Lin Yi's half-lover. Lin Yi always kept a respectful distance from women, like San Jingyi, who liked to play tricks. Although San Jingyi was pretty, Lin Yi didn't want to put himself in danger while admiring her beauty. But after today's interaction, Lin Yi's impression of San Jingyi changed a little. San Jingyi wasn't the clingy type of girl he'd imagined her to be. Thinking back to the things she'd asked for help with, they were all things she couldn't handle no matter how hard she tried. She'd only come to him because she had no other choice, and she hadn't called to bother him for a while after that. This made him feel that San Jingyi wasn't a bad person. She might have been using him at first, but she didn't treat him like an idiot and keep demanding things from him. I see. San Jingyi saw that Xiao Xiao had gotten off the car, and she lowered her voice with a smile. I thought you wanted to steal something from the auction. Ha! Lin Yi shrugged. I'm not a great thief. I'm just a guest. What do you do for a living? Student? San Jingyi asked. You really want to know? Lin Yi asked. Yeah. San Jingyi nodded. Murder and arson. Lin Yi said, faintly. Ah. San Jingyi blinked, but then frowned. Fine, I won't tell you. You're lying again. Isn't murder and arson the same as being a great thief? Huh. Lin Yi didn't explain anything. So you don't have to worry about Wu Qintian doing anything to me. If he pisses me off, I'll go to his house and kill and burn. San Jingyi was speechless. She didn't know what to say after seeing Lin Yi's nonchalant face. Then be careful. Lin Yi nodded and got off the car, quickly catching up to Xiao Xiao. Chapter 1059. Chapter 1057. Lin Yi's strength. San Jingyi was talking to me, telling me to be careful of Wu Qintian, Lin Yi said. Oh, will you be careful then? Xiao Xiao asked. I think he should be careful of you, Lin Yi smiled. Ha! Xiao Xiao was a little happy. I think so too. But that Xie Yufeng, you should be careful. When I'm not around, you and Shu shouldn't mess with him alone, Lin Yi said. Oh, what's wrong with Xie Yufeng? What's so great about him? What can he do to us? Xiao Xiao didn't understand. Xie Yufeng is a practitioner, a mystic early phase peak. Lin Yi didn't hide this from Xiao Xiao. With Xiao Xiao's family background, she definitely knew the difference in strength. Ah! Xiao Xiao was shocked by Lin Yi's words. A mystic early phase peak? Really? Really? Lin Yi nodded. No way. A mystic early phase peak is this useless? Beaten black and blue by a few hooligans? Sitting on a nail shoe? Did you get beaten up by Iron Fist Wu today? Xiao Xiao didn't believe it. She found it hard to believe. He is indeed a mystic early phase peak. Lin Yi nodded seriously. But for some reason he's been hiding his strength in front of me. Oh. Xiao Xiao frowned after hearing Lin Yi's words, thinking about it. If it was as Lin Yi said, then Xie Yufeng did seem to be hiding his strength. Whether it was that day in the karaoke bar or this morning, Yufeng seemed to have the confidence to teach the opponent a lesson. But then he suddenly gave in. Xiao Xiao was confused before, but she didn't think about it. Now that she thought about it, it was indeed strange. Only Lin Yi's explanation could explain it. In front of Lin Yi, Xie Yufeng was purposely acting like he had no strength. Then what does he mean by doing this? Is he targeting you? Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid. She knew what was at stake here. There had to be a reason why Yufeng was doing this, and it was most likely because of Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao's heart tightened at the thought. She didn't know when it started, but she started treating Lin Yi as her boyfriend, someone she cared about. He wasn't a so-called love experiment or target of revenge anymore. It was a gradual change, and even Xiao Xiao herself wasn't aware of it. A person's thoughts were the hardest to fathom. In many cases, love and hate happened in an instant. It was possible for hate to give birth to love, and it was also possible for love to give birth to hate. Xiao Xiao's current situation was one of love born from hate. Maybe he's just a peak early mystic class master. Lin Yi shrugged and said nonchalantly, "Oh." Xiao Xiao's eyes lit up at Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi appearing at the auction meant that Lin Yi must have some understanding of the noble houses. It was normal for him to know about the ranking system in the martial arts world, so Xiao Xiao didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But Lin Yi was looking down on Xie Yufeng, and that meant something. If Lin Yi knew what a peak early mystic class master meant, and he was looking down on him like that, then how strong was Lin Yi? Could it be that Lin Yi was a practitioner as well? Someone from the martial arts world? Xiao Xiao couldn't believe it. Because of her father's job, Xiao Xiao naturally knew more than others. But she also knew how rare martial arts people were in the common world. Golden class masters were easier to deal with. After all, some rich people had masters like that around them. Many practitioners stagnated after reaching the golden class. They didn't have a higher goal in their cultivation, so they would naturally pursue the pleasures of money. It wasn't uncommon for them to become the lackeys and thugs of the rich, but there weren't that many mystic class practitioners. Normally, if a mystic class practitioner had the slightest chance of advancing, they wouldn't become the bodyguards of the rich. But there were no absolutes in this world. Although mystic class practitioners were rare, there were still a few of them. But Lin Yi, a high schooler, was looking down on a peak early mystic class. Then he himself, Xiao Xiao, only knew that Lin Yi was strong, but she didn't know that Lin Yi was this strong. This meant that Lin Yi might really be stronger than Xie Yufeng. Lin Yi, honey, you. Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open as she looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You're not stronger than Xie Yufeng, are you? Lin Yi nodded. Since he'd accepted Xiao Xiao, there were some things he wouldn't hide from her. Tang Yin, Meng Yao, and Yushu all knew about his strength. Plus, Xiao Xiao's father, Tianlong, was his former comrade. There was no reason for Lin Yi to hide anything. I'm just a little stronger than Xie Yufeng. Lin Yi smiled. Wow. Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's confirmation and couldn't help but cry out. Xiao Xiao, you're too awesome. Your random boyfriend is actually a mystic class master. Waha, I've hit the jackpot. Lin Yi was speechless as he looked at Xiao Xiao's excited face. He didn't know what she was so happy about. What was the point of being a mystic class? It couldn't cure her illness. Ha ha ha. Doesn't that mean you're stronger than most of the masters from noble houses? Xiao Xiao circled around Lin Yi, her eyes roaming around Lin Yi's body as if trying to see if there was anything unusual about him. No wonder you could join the auction. You're a master too. Not back then, I was just golden class, late phase. Lin Yi said, but I can usually deal with masters stronger than me. Thinking back to the last time he leveled up, it was all thanks to Xiao Xiao. He might have touched the wall of mystic, but if it wasn't for Xiao Xiao, he wouldn't have become a mystic so easily. Oh, Xiao Xiao blinked at Lin Yi's words. But Lin Yi said that to reassure Xiao Xiao. After all, she didn't have much time left, and Lin Yi didn't want her to worry every day. Haha, so don't think too much. Whether it's Wu Qintian or Xie Yufeng, there's no problem. Not just Wu Qintian. Even if his grandfather came, I wouldn't be afraid. Lin Yi smiled. Chapter 1060. Old Yu Trick Xiao Xiao didn't think much of it at the time. But now that she thought about it, could it be that Lin Yi did it to protect her? Xiao Xiao's heart warmed at the thought, and she was incredibly touched. Her relationship with Lin Yi wasn't that good back then, was it? Was he willing to take the risk for her? If Lin Yi was still a golden class late phase then, he wouldn't be a match for Gong Gao at all. Lin Yi doing something like this was enough to show how much Lin Yi cared about her. Xiao Xiao's heart was moved, and she didn't care that they were in front of the school. She hugged Lin Yi and started sobbing. Xiao Xiao's crying scared Lin Yi out of his wits. What was going on? She was fine a moment ago. Why was she crying all of a sudden? Xiao Xiao couldn't have been possessed by that crybaby fatty lie, could she? Xiao Xiao, what's wrong? Lin Yi was a little scared and a little embarrassed. After all, they were in front of the school, and a little girl was crying while hugging him. It wasn't a big deal to those who knew, since Xiao Xiao was his girlfriend. But what about those who didn't know? Wah, Lin Yi, honey, you're so good to me, Xiao Xiao said as she cried. Huh. Lin Yi froze. How was he being good to Xiao Xiao? You were in Yanjing at the auction. You knew how strong that old man Gong Gao was. But you still stood in front of me. Xiao Xiao explained after seeing Lin Yi's confusion. Ugh. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the words. This thing you're talking about, wah. I'm so touched. No one's been this nice to me since I was young. Xiao Xiao was telling the truth. Tianlong couldn't be by Xiao Xiao's side because of work, so Lin Yi was the person who treated Xiao Xiao the best. Then don't cry. This is the school gate. It's not good if other people see. Although Lin Yi didn't really care about other people's opinions, this was still not a good thing. So Lin Yi reminded Xiao Xiao, I don't care. I just want to hug you and cry. Let me be touched. Xiao Xiao started acting coquettishly. Lin Yi didn't know what to do, so he let Xiao Xiao hug him. But after a while, Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. All right, Xiao Xiao, let's go back to school. No, I want to keep hugging you. Xiao Xiao loved the feeling of leaning on Lin Yi's arms. She didn't want to lose this feeling. If you don't listen to me, then I won't be nice to you anymore. Lin Yi couldn't do anything but scare Xiao Xiao. Oh, okay. This worked, and Xiao Xiao let go of Lin Yi unwillingly. The tears on her face had dried up long ago, and she just wanted to stay in Lin Yi's arms. Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi went back to the classroom. It was a smooth process. The Miss and Yushu knew about Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's relationship, so they turned a blind eye to it. But Xie Yufeng, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao with a venomous glare. It was because of Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi that he lost 5 million. Yufeng had to get his revenge for this. Yurin was a small owner of a grocery store, running a small business. His family's financial situation was very tight, and because he didn't have much money in his hands, he didn't expand his business. The money he made every day was just enough for his family to live on. However, Yurin didn't want his family to be poor forever. He wanted to change, so when he earned a lot of money, he would buy a few lottery tickets to entertain himself. Yurin's dream was to hit the 5 million jackpot one day. That way, his family's life would get better. Old you, what are you thinking about? A butcher came over when it was almost time to get off work. Nothing. I'm packing up and going home. Yurin said as he packed up. Are you free tonight? I'll bring you to see something exciting, the butcher said. Oh, what kind of exciting thing? Yurin paused, not knowing what the butcher was talking about. He shook his head. It's that kind of erotic show, right? I'm not going. My wife's really strong. If she finds out, I'll be in trouble. Heh, you really are a coward. The butcher shook his head in disdain. What erotic show? It's a boxing show. Do you know about underground boxing? It's very exciting. Boxing show? Yurin heard that it wasn't an erotic show, so he didn't reject immediately. Is the ticket expensive? It's free. The butcher laughed. My nephew has a friend in the underworld. He gave him a few tickets, and I got 2. Let's go, we'll go see. With that, the butcher put his oily hand on Yurin's shoulder and pulled him away. The butcher was actually here to scam Yurin. He had a bad heart. He took 500 from his nephew just to trick Yurin into watching an underground boxing match. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of Yurin for such a good thing. It's free? There's such a good thing. Yurin didn't believe it. Even if there's such a good thing, why would you think of me? Yurin wasn't an idiot. He knew that this butcher was just a normal relationship with him, and he didn't look for anyone else but him. Yurin was confused. Hey, didn't you look after my stall for half a day a few days ago? You even helped me sell some meat, so naturally I thought of Yurin bro first when there's a good thing. The butcher smiled. Is that so? Yurin heard the butcher's words and believed him a little, but he still asked, You really don't need money? I don't have a penny. My daughter, Yun, took all my money home. You don't need money. The butcher smiled. Let's go, just come with me. Yurin was relieved after hearing the butcher's words, and went to watch the match with the butcher. At first, Yurin wasn't very confident, but when he entered the arena with the butcher and sat in the audience, Yurin finally understood that he didn't need to spend a cent to watch the match. Now that he didn't have to worry anymore, Yurin started talking to the butcher. This boxing match, who organized it? Is it good? Chapter 1061. The fisherman takes the bait. It's that scary? Yurin jumped in fright after hearing the meat seller's words. Ha ha, there's nothing scary about it. It's exciting. The butcher waved his hand and smiled. It won't reach the audience, will it? That's pretty scary. Maybe we shouldn't watch. Yurin was a coward. It didn't matter to him if others fought or not. But he didn't want to drag himself into it. This was the tragedy of the people at the bottom of the society. All they thought about was when they'd be able to eat and wear warm clothes, and what happened to others had nothing to do with them. Old man Yurin was this kind of person. Look at your cowardly face. How could they fight in the audience seats? I've been here a few times already. You can watch later. The butcher smiled. At this moment, a young man sitting beside Yurin spoke up as well. This was someone little Scorpion had arranged. His status was similar to the butcher. Not only is it exciting, but you can also make a fortune. Look at me. I didn't even have a cent. But after watching a few matches, I'm a millionaire now. The young man said proudly. What? You became a millionaire without a cent? How is that possible? Yurin paused. He wasn't interested in the underground fights. But after hearing the young man say that he became a millionaire from penniless, he was interested. Yurin wanted to win the 5 million lottery even in his dreams, so he was very interested in these kinds of things. Ha ha, what's impossible? The young man looked at Yurin with disdain. Do you know what gambling is? Gambling? Yurin paused. You've never played before, right? I've played this before too. The meat seller laughed and told Yurin the rules of the bet. Yurin understood. but he was still scared. If I lose, wouldn't I get nothing? Hey, isn't this just gambling? If you buy a lottery ticket and don't win, wouldn't you get nothing? The young man said with disdain. A country bumpkin like you shouldn't have any money. I'll show you. Yurin didn't say anything, but he was moved. Going from penniless to a millionaire was a legend. With that in mind, Yurin paid close attention to the young man and the meat seller's actions. Before the match started, someone had already started collecting bets on a tablet computer. The young man directly bet 100,000 on someone called Red Dragon to win, and the butcher had bet 10,000 on Red Dragon. Yurin looked at how confident they were and couldn't help but be tempted. He asked, "Can I bet 10 yuan?" Pucci. Hearing Yuren's words, the young man burst into laughter, his eyes wide open. I say, old man, the lowest bet here is 10,000. You only have 10. Who's going to bet for you? Ah, I see. Yurin blushed, but he was also shocked. 10,000. That was half a year's worth of income, and he was taking it out to bet? Wasn't there something wrong with that? What he didn't understand was why the butcher and the young man were betting so confidently. Could it be that the Red Dragon they were betting on was the ever-victorious general? Ha! I say, old you, listen to me. Hurry up and bet, or you'll regret it later. The butcher looked at Yuren and reminded him that Red Dragon, is he strong? Yuren couldn't help but ask. That's pretty strong. The butcher curled his lips. 3 matches yesterday, he won every single one. He didn't even give his opponent a chance to breathe. I'm regretting it yesterday. That's why I bet 10,000 on the last match. If I had bet before, I'd be a millionaire right now. Is that so? Yuren was tempted, but he was still worried. 9 out of 10 bets are cheating. If that's the case, wouldn't the owner of this arena lose his money? I don't know about that. This kind of thing isn't done behind the scenes. It's a real fight. If you don't fight to the death, there's no way to tell who's the winner. So, even if you want to fake it, there's no way, right? The butcher said. Oh, Yuren was tempted, but he was still very cautious. He wanted to wait and see. The result made Yuren a little depressed, but at the same time, he was looking forward to it. There was no doubt that the Red Dragon won. In just a few moves, he had defeated his opponent on the stage. Moreover, the young man and the butcher weren't wrong. They were indeed fighting for real, because the Red Dragon's opponent's head had already been blown off by the Red Dragon. This kind of bloody scene scared Yuren, but he didn't sympathize with the people who were killed. As far as he was concerned, since he came to fight in the underground arena, he should have expected this kind of ending. These people died. What did it have to do with him? What made Yuren depressed was that he didn't listen to the young man and the butcher's suggestion and bet. If he had bet 10,000 on the Red Dragon, wouldn't he have 20,000 now? The young man's 500,000 turned into 1 million, and the butcher's 10,000 turned into 20,000. Yuren was really envious. Such a good chance to get rich, and he missed it. If he had bet 10,000, he would have earned 10,000. And that would have been half a year's worth of income. But at the thought, Yuren was even more depressed. He couldn't help but blame himself. Yuren, why couldn't you be more daring? If you had bet 500,000, wouldn't you have 1 million? But Yuren's depression deepened at the thought. He could barely take out 10,000, but if he were to take out 500,000, wouldn't that be a fantasy? He'd have to sell his house. But his house was rented. It wasn't even his. The new round of bets began, and it was still the Red Dragon against another unknown fighter, Ares. Yuren wanted to bet as well, but he didn't have a single cent with him. How could he? The young man used bank transfer and the butcher used cash, but Yuren didn't have any cash with him, and he didn't have the phone transfer function. Even if he wanted to bet, he couldn't. He regretted it. Even if he only brought 10,000, it would have been fine. Why didn't he have a single cent? Chapter 1062. Chapter 1060. The last gamble. I'm borrowing money from the arena. This place offers high-interest loans. The young man said impatiently, You can ask later. I'm busy betting right now. I'll tell you after I'm done. You didn't ask before, but now that you're asking, can't you see I'm busy? Wait, bro, it'll be too late. How could Yurin wait until he was done? Then it'd be too late. He wanted to bet now. Ah, you can borrow money from the casino. 500,000 at most. Just sign an agreement, and it'll be fine. The young man waved his hand impatiently. He was doing it on purpose. If he was too enthusiastic, it'd raise Yuren's suspicions. As expected, the more he acted like this, the more anxious Yurin was. He didn't care anymore. He'd wait for the person to come and ask for the loan. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as he bet, he'd be able to make money. Yurin didn't want to miss this chance. However, the loan wasn't something that could be done in one go. The person who placed the bet took out his walkie-talkie and called the professional in the arena, asking him to handle the loan for Yurin. The person who placed the bet continued to collect the bets from the others. What made Yurin regretful was that although the loan was done, the second match had already begun. They weren't accepting bets anymore, which meant that he could only place his bet on the last match. He regretted not borrowing money earlier. He'd lost a chance to make a fortune. Why was Yurin so sure that he'd make a fortune this time? The reason was simple. The match had only been going on for 5 minutes, and it was already a one-sided situation. Red Dragon was beating Baiyang up, and Baiyang didn't even have the strength to fight back. It didn't take long before he was covered in wounds. Although Baiyang was trying his best to fight back, the effect was very weak. He wasn't a match for Red Dragon at all, and after a while his nose was bleeding and his body was covered in bruises. Go Red Dragon! The crowd cheered once more. These people had placed a lot of bets on Red Dragon. Red Dragon didn't disappoint them, suppressing his opponent this time. It was foreseeable that Baiyang would fall soon. Yurin regretted it. It was such a great opportunity. He didn't know if the Red Dragon would appear again in the third match. After all, if this went on, wouldn't the owner of the boxing arena lose his money? The Red Dragon should have been replaced in the third round, right? As expected, the Red Dragon won again. Cheers rang out from the stands again. Red Dragon's opponent's heart caved in, and he died. This kind of thing could not be faked. Excited shouts rose and fell because the Red Dragon had brought another huge sum of wealth to everyone. This made everyone's blood boil. Many people had placed huge bets on this match. It could be said that this match had made these people unimaginable wealth. Just when everyone thought that the boss of the casino would be replaced, something unexpected happened. After the battle, the Red Dragon did not leave the arena. Instead, he continued to sit at the edge of the arena to rest. In other words, the Red Dragon would still appear in the third match. This made everyone excited again. Could it be that the Red Dragon was going to continue competing? Wouldn't that bring them another huge sum of wealth? Soon, the list of contestants for the third match was announced on the screen. It was still the Red Dragon, and his opponent was still a newbie Black Cat. In the audience seats, the people were excited again. They were all making calls non-stop. Secretary Wang, you transfer all the company's money to my account. I'm going to play big. Yes, that's right, all of it. A bald boss took the phone and ordered his secretary. Manager's son, I'll use my company's building and all my real estate as collateral for a loan of 200 million. Yes. Don't you trust me? I'll get someone to send you the property certificate. Transfer the money to my account immediately. A middle-aged fat man who looked like a big boss also said to the other side of the phone, Dad, it's me. Transfer all the money in the house to me. Quick, I have a big deal. A young master was also on the phone. Son, I'm your father. Quickly withdraw the overseas investment and give it to me immediately. I want it now. What's that little penalty? I'm telling you, if you give me the money now, after tonight, I'll be on the rich list. Another boss was raising funds. Brotherly, I'm Scarface. Lend me 500 million. This was an underworld boss who was in a gambling frenzy. He was borrowing money through the underground money house. There were countless people who were making calls like this in the field. They all realized that this was the biggest opportunity of their lives. The Red Dragon was actually going to compete again. They knew that this was probably the last time the Red Dragon would compete. The boss of the boxing arena would definitely not let him compete again tomorrow. This kind of ever-victorious general would be losing money if he were to compete again. Of course, the people present were not worried that the boxing arena would arrange for the Red Dragon to fake the third match, because it would be obvious at a glance. The boss of the boxing arena would definitely not do something that would arouse public anger, unless he colluded with the Red Dragon and let the Red Dragon be killed. But that was impossible, no matter how much they gave him. The Red Dragon wouldn't choose to cooperate with the boxing arena and get killed. What was the point of asking for benefits when he was dead? What's more, a fighter like the Red Dragon was a pillar in any underground boxing arena. Yurin didn't want to bet 500,000 in one go, because if he lost, he wouldn't be able to pay it back. But the people around him were raising money like crazy, and the young man was putting all of his money into the bet as well. More than 1,500,000 in total. The butcher also put down 600,000 yuan. Yu Ren's eyes turned red as he gritted his teeth and bet all of the 500,000. Yuren thought that since everyone was so confident in betting all of their money, then naturally it wouldn't go wrong. However, the third match was beyond everyone's expectations. Red Dragon was indeed strong, and in the third match he was still as brave as ever, but his opponent didn't seem weak either. He wasn't like the previous two opponents who were defeated so quickly. Chapter 1063. Chapter 1061. Complete defeat. Although they weren't very confident, they weren't too worried after yesterday's experience. But Yurin was a little worried. He turned to the meat seller. Why didn't Red Dragon defeat his opponent this time? Why does it seem like they're evenly matched? It's fine, it was the same yesterday. It's the last round after all. We need to find a strong opponent, otherwise it wouldn't be exciting. The meat seller said casually. Oh, Yurin nodded, but he was still a little worried. But the result of the third round was out of everyone's expectations. The situation on the stage changed drastically. Red Dragon took a few heavy punches from Black Cat, and his eyes started to see stars. Ah! Cries of surprise came from the audience. They could never have imagined that the Crimson Dragon, who had always been invincible, would be beaten by the Black Cat. Go Red Dragon! Go Red Dragon! Red Dragon, hold on. Many people in the audience began to go crazy. They couldn't believe that Red Dragon would lose. After all, Red Dragon took a few punches last night, but he still managed to turn the situation around. But today was different. No matter how strong young Maolin was, he was still a gangster, facing a golden-class physical practitioner like Red Dragon. There was nothing he could do. But now he was facing a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner. Fighter Li wanted to kill Red Dragon, and that was a matter of minutes. In front of him, Red Dragon was just a one-hit deal. But Fighter Li didn't kill Red Dragon in one move. That would be too shocking, and it would raise suspicions. He purposely suppressed his strength, making it seem like he was on par with Red Dragon. And the two of them were indeed on par. Fighter Li took a step-by-step approach, attacking the Red Dragon bit by bit. Red Dragon seemed to have realized that his opponent this time wasn't normal, but he wasn't a golden class yet, so he wasn't considered a real practitioner yet. He wasn't too sure of Fighter Li's strength, especially when Fighter Li was suppressing him. He thought that Fighter Li was on par with him, although the Crimson Dragon had suffered a loss before. He attributed it to his carelessness. After adjusting his state, he punched the Black Cat. Bang! Red Dragon's fist collided with Fighter Li's, but there was a kacha sound. The Red Dragon wailed. His arm drooped down. His right arm was crippled. Fighter Li laughed coldly in his heart. What a fool! with this level of skill, he still dared to show off in front of him? If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want the audience to suspect him, the red dragon would already be a dead man. Seeing that the red dragon seemed to be at a disadvantage again, the audience began to worry. Although they did not know that one of the crimson dragon's arms had been crippled, they still had high hopes that the crimson dragon could turn the situation around. Rise, red dragon! Kill him! Kill the black cat! Red dragon, you can do it! Invincible red dragon, kill that black cat bastard! The audience went crazy and cheered for the crimson dragon. They couldn't wait to beat the black cat up for the crimson dragon. After all, they had placed a huge bet on the red dragon. If the red dragon lost, they would go bankrupt. The sweat on Uren's forehead was getting thicker and thicker. He never would have thought that the invincible red dragon would be so weak all of a sudden. It didn't seem like he was a match for the black cat now. Please don't lose. Please don't lose. Uren prayed silently in his heart. But the situation on the stage was not looking good. Jiang Wen looked at the scene through the screen, very pleased with himself as he sipped on the red wine in his hand. Fighter Li's not bad, huh? You know how to act. That's right. Congratulations, Master Jiang Wen. This match will bring Master Jiang Wen more than 5 billion. Scorpion was starting to admire Jiang Wen now. This guy really knew how to make money. That's right. Don't you know who I am? I specialize in this kind of business. Jiang Wen humphed, pleased with himself. He was now a famous person in the Firewolves, and his reputation had surpassed his big brother, Anjinda. He was one of the pillars of the Firewolves. That's right. It's my honor to work with you, Master Jiang Wen. The professor started kissing Jiang Wen's ass as well. It couldn't be helped. In this day and age, whoever could make money for the gang was the boss. Even the professor's biochemical research couldn't be done without Jiang Wen's support. Jiang Wen was the bravest person the professor had ever seen, grabbing people on the streets and doing experiments on them. This was something even the Firewolves didn't dare do. Sooner or later, something big was going to happen. But since Scorpion was the scapegoat, the professor didn't care. The arena's income had far exceeded his expectations. The goal the Firewolves gave Jiang Wen was to use this arena to make 1 billion in black gold within a year. But it hadn't even been a month, and Jiang Wen had already exceeded the goal. Just one night, he had at least 5 billion. And this wasn't even done with the statistics yet. It wouldn't just be 5 billion when the statistics came out. Finally, Red Dragon was sent flying by Black Cat's heavy punches. His chest had completely caved in, forming a terrifying shape. In such a situation, it was simply impossible for a person to still be alive. The stands were completely silent. The audience was stunned. They didn't expect Red Dragon, whom they had high hopes for, to lose like this. This time, they didn't yell for Red Dragon to stand up, because it was impossible for him to do so. Red Dragon's ribs were shattered, and his entire body was flattened. How was he supposed to get up? They couldn't believe the reality in front of them, but they had to accept this result because Black Cat had already raised his hands, and the crowd was counting down. Black Cat won. After a moment of silence, the sound of wailing and cursing resounded from the spectators' stand. Almost everyone had bet on the Red Dragon's victory. Under such circumstances, no one had bet on the Black Cat, so they all lost. In an instant, they had gone from being awesome bosses to penniless people who were in debt. Some were beating their chests, some were crying, some wanted to commit suicide. Chapter 1064. Chapter 1062. Excited Xiaoxia just when Yuren was at a loss of what to do and didn't know what to do. Someone found him and brought him to an office backstage of the boxing arena. In front of everyone, Yuren, you borrowed 500,000 from the arena. When are you going to pay it back? Scorpion asked with a cold face. He was ordered by young Master Wen to settle this matter as soon as possible. It could be considered as a reward for fighter Lee's victory tonight. Yurin was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the opponent would come to him right after the match ended. But 500,000 to Yurin was something he couldn't possibly take out. That was 500,000. To Yurin, it was a huge amount of money. This 500,000. Didn't your arena take it back as well? Why don't we just forget about it? It's my first time here, I don't know the rules. Yurin said carefully. Huh. Scorpion heard Yurin's words and laughed arrogantly. Ha 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 ha. I say, old man Yurin, are you stupid? It's true that the money was taken back by our boxing arena, but you lost the bet. If you won, would you not want the money? Yurin was speechless. He was right, he lost the bet, but if he won, would he not want the money? Yurin, I've done my research on you. Just take out 500,000, and we'll be fine. Scorpion smiled coldly. If not, don't blame us for what we're going to do. We, the arena, are very trustworthy. We always keep our word. Don't think that you'll get lucky. I'll give you 5 days to collect the money. If you don't pay me back in 5 days, I'll send people to capture your entire family to fight in the arena. Capture his entire family to fight in the arena? Yuren's heart skipped a beat when he heard Scorpion's words. You want me to fight in the arena? Yuren jumped in fright. His skinny body, how could he fight in the arena? Wouldn't he be killed in a few moves? Not you, your entire family. Your entire family will be sent to the arena. Ha. Little Scorpion laughed cruelly. Yuren heard Scorpion's threat, and he almost fainted on the ground. He was scared, he was really scared. Scorpion wasn't the same as the other gangsters. Yuren had a stall in the market, and while he would occasionally get blackmailed, these gangsters knew their limits. They might cause trouble for him and stop his business, but they wouldn't dare commit murder or arson. But Scorpion was different. Yuren saw with his own eyes that he had killed 3 people in 3 matches. These were human lives. Yuren believed that there was nothing this young man wouldn't dare to do. What you're doing is illegal. Yuren gritted his teeth. Quack? Breaking the law? Ha ha ha. Scorpion laughed madly. You can call the police, but you need to think about the consequences. We are a criminal organization, not a small gang. Now that you've called the police, you can just wait to die. As for your wife and daughter, I'll help you sell them to a brothel in the south and have them head to death. Kaka! Yuren shivered from head to toe. The young man in front of him was simply a demon. The consequences he was talking about were even scarier than death. Thinking about his wife and daughter being humiliated like this, Yuren was scared out of his wits and quickly gave up on the idea of calling the police. At this moment, a lackey dragged the red dragon's body to Scorpion's office. Scorpion bro, what do we do with this dead man? See if there are any good organs, cut them off and sell them. Throw the rest into the crocodile pond. Scorpion looked at the motionless red dragon and waved his hand. Yes, Scorpion bro. The lackey dragged the body out of the room and followed Scorpion's instructions. Yuren's scalp went numb. Weren't these people too cruel? They were already dead, and they still wanted to cut off their organs to sell? That was too evil. However, this only made Yuren even more fearful. These people were really capable of doing anything. In fact, this scene was purposely arranged by Scorpion to scare Yuren. Otherwise, if people died every day and he had to ask for instructions every time someone died, wouldn't Scorpion die from exhaustion? Yuren, 5 days, do you hear me? If you can't get the money in 5 days, you'll have to fight in the ring. Scorpion waved his hand impatiently. You can scram now. Don't even think about running away. I'll arrange for people to monitor your house. Yuren's body shivered. He did think about running away. He couldn't afford to mess with them, but he could hide. He thought about giving up the grocery store here and bringing his wife and kids away from Songshan, hiding outside and starting a new business. However, this idea could not be realized now. Yuren sighed. He could only go home and think of a way. He really regretted it. He shouldn't have listened to the meat seller and come to watch some underground fighting tournament. He shouldn't have been tempted by that unrealistic pie in the sky. Yu Ren stumbled out of the arena, and Scorpion looked at his back, a cold smile on his face. It was Friday in the blink of an eye, and Lin Yi had been driving Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao to and fro these days, getting used to this lifestyle. Xie Yufeng seemed to have calmed down quite a bit. After getting beaten up by Wu Qintian, he became a lot more low-key. He didn't do anything, and Lin Yi didn't bother with him. Pin Liang looked at the bruised and swollen Xie Yufeng, a cold smile on his face. What an idiot! He didn't even know his opponent's level, and he kept jumping up and down. Now he was at a disadvantage, wasn't he? Pin Liang was now a cunning man, and he didn't show it on the surface. But he had been observing the conflict between Xie Yufeng and Lin Yi. Liang bro, that Xie Yufeng looks like he's done for? Has he calmed down? Xiaofu had been paying attention to Xie Yufeng as well. Humph, just an idiot, ignore him. Pin Liang felt that someone like Xie Yufeng wasn't on the same level as him anymore. Pin Liang's next step would be a high-leveled fight, and he wouldn't use some middle school level moves anymore. Xiao Xiao was very excited and happy today because Lin Yi had promised to take her to a race tonight. So during class, she was in a state of excitement, her face flushed red, and she cheered from time to time, making Lin Yi a bit restless. Chapter 1065. Underground Racetrack. One reason was that they spent most of their time in school, and Lin Yi couldn't do anything that would offend people's morals in class. Plus, Tang Yun was there in the car, and Lin Yi couldn't get close to Xiao Xiao alone. Plus, Lin Yi didn't want to go any further with Xiao Xiao. It wouldn't be fair to Tang Yun. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, his first girl had to be Tang Yun. She was his first girlfriend, after all. Tang Yin was a big part of Lin Yi's heart. Of course, if Tang Yin wanted to have a threesome with Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi wouldn't mind. He wasn't a conservative person, and a conservative mindset wouldn't allow him to be an assassin. Xiao Xiao, what are you doing? Lin Yi had to remind Xiao Xiao that they were in class. Hee, nothing. I just wanted to be night faster. I'm looking forward to it. Xiao Xiao always wished for time to be slower, since she didn't have much time left. But today, she wished for time to be faster. Have you contacted the racetrack? Lin Yi asked. Lin Yi could contact the racetrack through Zhouruoming, but he wasn't as familiar with it as Xiao Xiao. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi didn't want to go to Zhouruoming. I've contacted them. I signed up a long time ago. I've paid the deposit. Xiao Xiao said, Tonight the first race is ours. HM, you paid the deposit? Lin Yi blinked. Isn't it 200,000 per race? You have that much money? Lin Yi knew about Xiao Xiao's family situation, so he was curious about the deposit. Although Lin Yi was confident in winning, the organizers didn't know if he could win or not. That was why they made everyone pay a deposit of 200,000. If he won, it would be refunded, and if he lost, it would be kept. Don't forget, I just got 5 million from that idiot Iron Fist Wu. Xiao Xiao said proudly. Only then did Lin Yi remember that Xiao Xiao already had a huge amount of money. The race was at 6 at night, and it was the last self-study period in school. Naturally, they wouldn't be able to attend. Lin Yi told Tang Yin, the miss, and Yushu that he was going to keep Xiao Xiao company at night before leaving the school with Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao had packed her bag a long time ago, as if she was waiting for this moment to come to school. Where are we going now? In the car, Lin Yi asked Feng Xiao Xiao. Go to Mount Belong's Coiling Mountain Road. It's a paradise for underground racers. Xiao Xiao said. Do you know the location? I'm not sure. Lin Yi shook his head. You should drive it. Lin Yi got off the car and gave Xiao Xiao the driver's seat. Today, Lin Yi was driving Xiao Xiao's Audi TT. He'd switched cars in the morning at Xiao Xiao's house. Xiao Xiao didn't reject it. She was very familiar with the road from here to Mount Bolong, but she'd only gone to watch races before. She'd never participated in one. Xiao Xiao thought that racing was exciting, but she knew where she stood. She'd lose for sure if she went on stage, and Xiao Xiao didn't have that much money to spend. Mount Bolong was a small tourist attraction near Songshan, and because it couldn't make ends meet, it had stopped operating a few years ago. There was no other reason. It was because there were too many mountains near Songshan City. The newly developed Shuangyan Mountain was even more beautiful than Bolong Mountain. The resorts inside were also newly built, and the accommodation and dining environment were also good. Naturally, no one went to Bolong Mountain anymore, and the tourist attraction of Bolong Mountain was forced to close. Although the attraction was closed, the mountain road was still there. It wasn't in repair, and some of the fences were gone. The road wasn't in good condition, either. But this road didn't have any other use other than going to the top of Mount Bolong, and all the businesses here had left. Who would spend money to repair the road? Xiao Xiao's car drove to the empty space at the foot of Mount Bolong. There were all kinds of cars parked here, and the cars were all different. From the cheapest Alto to the best of the world's famous sports cars, there was everything. Beside the cars in the open space, there were also small groups of people chatting, drinking, and flirting with girls. Most of them were dressed in weird clothes, with weird hair, just like the old Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown at the sight of these non-mainstream people. To be honest, he didn't have much of a good impression of these crazy guys and gals. How could they face their parents if they didn't study properly and came out to race? But then again, a lot of these people were spoiled by their families. If their parents didn't give them money, how would they buy a car? Of course, in addition to these non-mainstream men and women, there were also some middle-aged men who were obviously gangsters. They had shaved heads and crew cuts, wore hurdle vests, and had tattoos all over their arms. They looked like gangsters. Birds of a feather flocked together, and there was a small group of people who drove sports cars. They were all well-dressed celebrities. There were white-collared workers from big companies, as well as real rich kids. These people were here for excitement, without a doubt. Xiao Xiao's car wasn't the worst here, but it wasn't a good car either. So, when she came to the empty space, she didn't attract much attention. Only the non-mainstream people who recognized Xiao Xiao's car came over. "Feng sis, you're here." The one who spoke was the non-mainstream young man who took a picture of Lin Yi on the business street. "Yeah." Xiao Xiao nodded. "Is everything arranged?" "Yes, Sister Feng. I've already discussed it with Brother Pitt. You'll be the first to fight," the trendy young man said. Pitt Bro was the organizer of this underground race, and it was said that he had some underworld background. He was a big shot in Songshan. Of course, this was all trash to Lin Yi. He could even beat up people like Tsi Hua if he wanted to, let alone Pitt Bro, who only had a bit of background in the underworld. It was just that Lin Yi didn't want to talk to him. 200,000 was a small number to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't want to look for that Pitt Bro to break the rules. "Who's my opponent?" Xiao Xiao nodded. With her sunglasses on, she looked like a big sister, and Lin Yi found it funny. Chapter 1066. Chapter 1064. Suspicious opponent, I know. Xiao Xiao didn't mind, however. It was better if she was a newbie. She didn't have much of a chance of winning against a famous racer, after all. This was also for the sake of fairness. The organizers of the underground race would usually arrange for competitors who were on par with each other to compete together. If the difference in strength between the two sides was too great, then the competition would be one-sided, and there would be no meaning to it. The people watching the competition wouldn't have any passion. The last class ended at 4, and Xiao Xiao drove here at 5 as well. There were only 20 minutes left until the match started at 6. The music in the field started. The match was about to begin. For the first race, contestants TT000 and 2B941, please get ready. The announcer's voice came from the sound system. This was a necessary procedure before the race, so please prepare yourselves. 2B941, you're an idiot? Xiao Xiao was pissed off at the number. Wasn't that a car number for insulting people? She was an idiot just because she was competing with him? Lin Yi smiled and shrugged. It's just a car number. What's there to care about? Let's go, it's our turn. You're driving? Xiao Xiao nodded to Lin Yi. It was only then that the young man noticed Lin Yi getting out of the Audi TT. He pointed at Lin Yi, his eyes wide. You, aren't you that expert driver? Ah. Lin Yi nodded at him. That's right, he's my husband now. Xiao Xiao looked at the young man's shocked face and held on to Lin Yi's arm, pleased with herself. Feng sis, you're amazing. If he were to race today, wouldn't he win for sure? The young man said respectfully, that's for sure. Xiao Xiao nodded and got back in the car. Lin Yi followed Xiao Xiao's instructions and stopped the car at the intersection of the mountain road. The crowd didn't pay too much attention to Xiao Xiao's Audi TT, since the first race was a newbie race. The car wouldn't be too good, and Xiao Xiao's car hadn't been modified, so it probably wouldn't be that good. As for the car 2B941, it had yet to arrive. He did not know what car it was, but Lin Yi was driving a car, so he was a new face, while Xiao Xiao was a familiar face. The crowd started making a ruckus, thinking that Lin Yi was a rich guy that Xiao Xiao had hooked up with. At about 5:50 a.m., a Land Rover Discovery 4 arrived late, and his photo was taken by 2B941. Although the size of the Land Rover was relatively large, the driving skills of the driver could not be underestimated. The speed was jaw-dropping. With a drift, the Land Rover reached the starting point of the mountain crossing. But the drift was too violent, and it only stopped when it was 1 or 2 centimeters away from Xiao Xiao's Audi TT. Xiao Xiao shrieked, sweating profusely. Xiao Xiao was sitting in the front passenger seat, and the Rover's drift almost hit her. She was very scared. Xiao Xiao was pissed off. How could this guy drive like that? She rolled down the window and glared at the driver. Do you even know how to drive? Why are you so close to me? Girl, you're quite the shrew. A bald man with sunglasses stuck his head out from the driver's seat as well, smiling at Xiao Xiao. Girl, get in my car. I'll take you for a ride. Fuck off. Xiao Xiao glared at the baldy, pissed off. This baldy's driving skills were clearly not bad, and Xiao Xiao had no chance of winning if she were to race him. They had agreed that Xiao Xiao would be driving and Lin Yi would be helping her, but looking at the baldy's attitude, Xiao Xiao knew that she was no match for him. She gave up on the idea and turned to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, honey, you should drive later. This baldy seems to be pretty good. Heck, girl, how do you know I'm good? Haven't you tried? Why don't you come with me tonight? I promise I'll make you wish you were dead. The baldy said pervertedly as he looked at Xiao Xiao. It's fine, I'll carry you and drive. Lin Yi smiled at Xiao Xiao. Carry me and drive. Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide as she looked at Lin Yi. She couldn't believe it. Racing was a dangerous thing to do, and this guy was carrying her in his arms while driving. What kind of danger was that? Was Lin Yi just trying to make her happy? But even if Lin Yi was just trying to make her happy, Xiao Xiao's heart was filled with happiness and sweetness. Lin Yi was willing to put himself in danger just to make her happy. This touched her to the core. It's fine. It's too dangerous. Xiao Xiao shook her head. What if the car crashes and we die? It's not dangerous. Lin Yi shook his head nonchalantly. I haven't even had a threesome with you yet. How could I die? Xiao Xiao was usually very bold, and she often said things that shocked the world, but Lin Yi's words made her a little embarrassed. Her face reddened as she said shyly, Really? It's not dangerous? Trust me. With that, Lin Yi got off the car and walked to Xiao Xiao's side. The Rover was parked a little too close, and Xiao Xiao couldn't even open the door. Lin Yi frowned and knocked on the rover's window, impatient. Move the car to the side. Don't block the road. Who the hell are you, pretty boy? The baldy was evidently pissed off at Lin Yi for getting off the car all of a sudden. He glared at Lin Yi and ignored Lin Yi's request. I told you to move the car, didn't you hear me? Lin Yi didn't want to argue with him, but this guy's stubbornness made Lin Yi impatient. The baldy closed the window, looking like a dead pig, not afraid of boiling water. He didn't care about Lin Yi at all. F***ck him up. F***ck him up. The surrounding youths started yelling. These kinds of heated scenes were what they loved the most. It was common for racing to cause bloodshed, but it was rare for a fight to happen before the race even started. Wah wah, beat him up. Someone else started yelling. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't care about the shouts. The baldy didn't move, so Lin Yi raised his leg and kicked at the rover. 2 thuds sounded, and the front of the rover tilted from Lin Yi's kick. 2 huge dents appeared on the front of the car. Chapter 1067. A strong way. They'd seen a lot of strong people, but not as strong as Lin Yi. The guy didn't even move his car, and he just kicked it away. The baldy's eyes darkened as well. He didn't think that Lin Yi was this strong, and he seemed to be a master too. A dark look flashed across his eyes, but with the sunglasses, no one could see the change in his expression. Seeing Lin Yi kick his car away, the baldy didn't continue cursing, nor did he get out of the car. He fell into deep thought. Could this guy be Xiao Xiao's bodyguard? The situation was getting complicated. The surrounding men and women saw that the bald-headed sunglasses man was kicked out of the car by Yang Ming, but he didn't make any reaction. He still stayed in the car and didn't move. They immediately sneered. This was a naked provocation. His car was kicked, and he didn't even dare to make a sound. Was he even a man? Coward! You're too weak. That's all you got, and you're still acting? Where's your courage? Weren't you calling him a pretty boy? Do you dare say that again? That's right, who's a pretty boy? That's called manliness and hands. Don't be fooled by your big bald head. You look fierce, but it's useless. You're the soft pretty boy. You're the idiot. Faced with the curses of the onlookers, the bald-headed sunglasses man was about to explode, but he still endured it. This wasn't the time to get angry. This was a rare opportunity, and he couldn't ruin this match because of his anger. Lin Yi looked at the baldy in the car, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The baldy's weird behavior was starting to make Lin Yi suspicious. He kicked his car, and he didn't react at all. This wasn't how a normal person would behave. Plus, this didn't match the baldy's arrogant personality. Lin Yi's suspicions troubled the baldy as well. He could see Lin Yi's suspicions, but there was nothing he could do. Previously, in order to make himself look more like a hooligan who came here to race, he used some of the methods and tone that hooligans often use to flirt with girls. This was also to make himself blend into this group. But he didn't think that the man next to Xiao Xiao would be this cocky, kicking his car just because of a few words. He was a violent maniac from head to toe, and the baldy was puzzled. Where did Xiao Xiao find this guy? Why was he so violent? But it was too late for regrets now. The baldy didn't want to get into a conflict with Lin Yi right now. If the two were to fight before the race started, it would affect the race later. If the organizers decided to cancel the race or split the two up, that wasn't something the baldy wanted to see. It hadn't been easy for him to wait for this opportunity. Xiao Xiao had finally bumped into his strong point, and he didn't want to give up just like that. It didn't matter if people suspected him or scolded him now, as long as it didn't affect the race and he achieved his goal. Luckily, Lin Yi looked at him and saw that he wasn't getting out. He ignored him and opened Xiao Xiao's door, letting her out. Xiao Xiao frowned as she looked at the rover beside her. The rover's engine capacity was double that of her Audi TT. Wasn't she just going to lose if she raced with a car like that? This part of the road had been abandoned for a long time, too, and the Rover had the advantage. The Audi TT, on the other hand, was clearly at a disadvantage. "Linny, honey, maybe we should ask for a change of match?" "His car," Xiao Xiao said worriedly as she looked at the Baldy's Rover. "It's fine." Lin Yi waved his hand faintly. Normally, Lin Yi would have listened to Xiao Xiao's suggestion, but now Lin Yi felt that there was something wrong with this Baldy. Naturally, he wanted to see what his goal was. Lin Yi adjusted the driver's seat so that two people could sit in it. Lin Yi got in first before turning to Xiao Xiao. "Xiao Xiao, get in." Xiao Xiao saw how confident Lin Yi was, so she got in without hesitation. This meant that Lin Yi was driving with Xiao Xiao in his arms. After all, this was a very dangerous move. Even if it wasn't a car, it was a very dangerous move on normal roads, and Lin Yi just had to use it on an even more dangerous car. "Oh!" the surrounding men and women exclaimed in surprise. They'd seen some difficult moves before, like the guy driving while the girl next to him helped him hit the plane. But that was child's play compared to what Lin Yi was doing, hugging each other with 4 arms and 4 legs like this. One slight misstep and the car would crash. The spectators naturally liked exciting moves, and they all cheered excitedly at Lin Yi's bravery. The bald-headed sunglasses man in the Land Rover naturally saw this scene, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. He never would have thought that Lin Yi would do something this dangerous, but this was good. It saved him a lot of energy. This way, Xiao Xiao's car would go out of control even more easily. But how Lin Yi was going to race and whether or not he was going to lose his life wasn't something the spectators cared about. Lin Yi's death had nothing to do with them. There had been a lot of car crashes and deaths in the past year. But even if someone died, no one would break the rules and spread the news. "Silence, the race is about to begin." The organizer's voice came from the speakers in the square, and a man who looked like a judge walked over with a flag, standing not far from the Audi TT and the Rover. "He'll wave the flag later, and we can run," Xiao Xiao explained to Lin Yi. "How do we do it?" "I'll be in charge of the accelerator and brake, and I'll hold your hand to control the steering wheel," Lin Yi said. "All right, no problem." Xiao Xiao nodded excitedly. In fact, this wasn't much different from Lin Yi doing it himself. It was just a little more dangerous. But Lin Yi wanted Xiao Xiao to experience the speed of a racer, and that was why he did this. Chapter 1068. Chapter 1066. A plot against Xiao Xiao. "Don't move." Xiao Xiao in his arms gave Lin Yi a physiological reaction, and Lin Yi frowned, a bitter smile on his face. "Oh." Xiao Xiao blinked and felt something hard pressing against her, but she immediately understood why Lin Yi didn't let her move. Xiao Xiao's cheeks reddened, but she was happy inside. Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi had become a couple, but it was more or less forcing Lin Yi to do it. If it weren't for Tang Yun's generosity and fulfilling that bet, Xiao Xiao wouldn't be in a relationship with Lin Yi right now. As a result, Xiao Xiao was always worried that Lin Yi didn't like her, but now it seemed like that worry was unnecessary. Lin Yi was quite interested in her. "Why don't we try it in the car?" Xiao Xiao suddenly said something very bold. "What are you talking about? Do you want to die?" Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Xiao Xiao's words. This Feng Xiao Xiao's idea was shocking enough. Even if Lin Yi was strong, he wouldn't dare do something like that. Wasn't that obviously courting death? I saw people do it when they were racing before," Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. And then Lin Yi asked, "And then they all died." Xiao Xiao said awkwardly, "You still want to try it after dying?" Lin Yi glared at Xiao Xiao. "I was thinking that you're stronger, aren't you a mystic? I heard you have qi protecting your body." Xiao Xiao stuck her tongue out. Who would have the energy to care about qi then? Lin Yi shook his head. "Focus on racing. If you're going to race, enjoy the excitement and speed it brings. Don't think about anything else." "All right." Xiao Xiao thought about it and agreed that it was better to do that at home. She could enjoy the fun of racing here. Wasn't this her dream? After Xiao Xiao's tantrum, the fire in Lin Yi's heart calmed down. He started the car, his left hand on Xiao Xiao's hand on the steering wheel, and his right hand wrapped around her body. I'll tell you to steer the rudder later. Just listen to me. Okay. Xiao Xiao nodded. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The sound of the countdown came from the speakers. At the same time the number 1 was shouted, the referee also waved the small flag in his hand. The Audi TT and the Land Rover shot forward at the same time like a sharp sword. However, the Audi TT was clearly lagging behind the Land Rover on the straight road before the winding mountain road. After a few hundred meters, the gap between the two cars slowly widened. The Land Rover was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had surpassed the Audi TT by a lot. What's so great about having a good car? Xiao Xiao gritted her teeth as she gripped the steering wheel, but there was nothing she could do. What could she do? Her car wasn't as good as his. Huh. Lin Yi hugged Xiao Xiao's right hand and patted her, telling her to calm down. But because of her agitation, Lin Yi accidentally patted Xiao Xiao's chest. Lin Yi felt a little awkward. It really wasn't on purpose. But Xiao Xiao didn't seem to mind at all. She kept yelling, "Drive, drive! Speed up, speed up!" Lin Yi smiled, not minding it at all. Don't worry, his car's bigger. His disadvantage will show when we get on the mountain road. The mountain road wasn't easy to drive on, and the Land Rover had a slight advantage. On roads like this, an off-road car was way better than a sports car. But at the same time, the road was bumpy, and there were sharp turns everywhere. The advantage of a small car was fully displayed here. The Land Rover had a big engine, but not stepping on the brakes on roads like this was suicide. And so, Lin Yi wasn't worried about the Land Rover taking the lead. The Land Rover was in the lead, but it wasn't easy. The Baldy drove as he looked at the Audi TT behind him. He didn't want to put too much distance between him and Lin Yi, so he didn't push the car to the max. Otherwise, he could have pushed the car to 300 in the 2-kilometer buffer. Ring, 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 a cell phone rang, and the bald-headed sunglasses man picked up the phone. Hello? The bald-headed man in sunglasses answered the call while driving. His expression was extremely calm. It could be seen that he didn't seem to care about this kind of competition. Third brother, why do I see a man in that phone girl's car? What's his job? A man's voice came from the phone. Second brother, that man seems to be the bodyguard Feng Tianlong hired for that phone girl. The Baldy said after a sigh. He seems to have some skills. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that he's phone girl's boyfriend. They seem to be pretty close. Oh, then let's get rid of them together. Third brother, are you confident? The man called second brother said after a sigh. Don't forget where I came from. I'm a retired F1 racer, the Baldy said faintly. I'm planning on getting rid of them as well. He's to blame for being with Feng Tianlong's daughter. I believe in your driving skills. I've already prepared a helicopter. It's on standby at the mountaintop. Once you get them, I'll send the helicopter to pick you up. The second brother said, All right, we're on the curve. Let's not talk about this for now. I need to find a chance to get rid of them, the Baldy said. But now, I need to wait for these two short-lived bastards. If I knew they'd be using a small car like this. IDV changed cars. The Baldy had seen Xiao Xiao's profile and knew that she usually drove an Audi TT, but he thought that she'd be driving a better car for a race, right? But the Baldy was wrong. Xiao Xiao was still in her own Audi TT. Just as Lin Yi said, the Rover slowed down noticeably after getting on the mountain road. Speeding up on a road like this was basically suicide, of course, except for masters. Of course, Lin Yi was a master in this area, but Lin Yi suspected that the Baldy was a master as well. If he wasn't, then that perfect drift before the race wasn't something a normal person could pull off. The distance and speed were perfectly controlled. Anymore, and he'd crash into Xiao Xiao's car, and any less, and the front of the car wouldn't be able to turn properly. Chapter 1069. Lin Yi's suspicions. Lin Yi kicking the car was also Lin Yi's way of testing the baldy. According to what Xiao Xiao and the young man said, the first race was usually prepared for newbies. But this baldy was clearly not a newbie, he was a veteran. His silence, on the other hand, made Lin even more suspicious. Most people would show some dissatisfaction after getting their car kicked. It was just a matter of how forceful they were. But the baldy didn't even say a word, a complete change from his gangster image. He's slowing down, he's slowing down, he's slowing down. Xiao Xiao cried out in surprise. Huh. Lin Yi only smiled faintly as his suspicions deepened. Yet another anomaly. With the baldy's driving skills, he shouldn't be slowing down here. This was only the first lap of the mountain road, and it wasn't steep at all. Even a normal driver wouldn't have a problem with it, let alone a drifting master like the baldy. But he just had to slow down at this moment. This was an obvious act, and only Lin Yi would suspect it. Xiao Xiao was in a state of excitement, and it was hard for her to notice something like this. But what Lin Yi didn't understand was what this baldy was trying to do. Was he trying to scam 200,000 out of Xiao Xiao? Or did he have some other goal? Lin Yi wouldn't believe it if he had some other goal. Bringing Xiao Xiao to this race was purely a coincidence, unless this person had been observing Xiao Xiao and him the entire time, waiting for a chance to make a move. It was just that many things that seemed like random happenings had been carefully planned out by the enemy, and Lin Yi was always on his guard. It didn't matter if the baldy had any ulterior motives or not. Lin Yi was already on guard against him. Slow down, do what you want. A smile appeared on Lin Yi's face as he stepped on the gas. The Audi TT's engine roared, and Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's car shot forward. They were about to reach the winding mountain road, but not only did Lin Yi not slow down, he even sped up. The group of spectators who were watching the match through binoculars all let out exclamations. Although there was no need to slow down when going up the winding road, he had never seen anyone speed up at this time. Wasn't he courting death? Xiao Xiao understood that as well. She used to watch other people race, but she'd run this path before when she was training. It was just that it wasn't like this, where they were chasing each other. She wasn't as nervous as she was now. But Xiao Xiao knew that they couldn't speed up when they were going up the winding roads. Everyone else was speeding up on the straight road, but Lin Yi was speeding up on the winding road. What the hell was going on? Lin Yi, honey, why did you speed up? Xiao Xiao said, startled. How can I overtake him if I don't speed up? Lin Yi said faintly, not thinking that speeding up was something special at all. Lin Yi's car sped up a few more times, instantly overtaking the Land Rover in front of them. Lin Yi was still speeding up after going up the winding road. There was a sharp curve in front of them, but Lin Yi was still speeding up. Ah! Xiao Xiao screamed, but it wasn't a scream of fear. It was a scream of excitement. This was the first time she was speeding up at a sharp curve. It was extremely dangerous, but she trusted in Lin Yi. It was a blind trust. Of course, what Xiao Xiao was thinking was that even if she died, she'd die with Lin Yi. She'd have no regrets in this life. If they could still be lovers in the netherworld, she'd be so happy. Mother asterisk her, he's a lunatic. The bald-headed sunglasses man looked at the accelerating Audi TT and was shocked. This person was either a top-notch expert or a lunatic. Who drove like that, speeding up at a sharp curve? He didn't know how to spell death, did he? But what happened next proved the baldy's guess. Lin Yi was a master. The Audi TT didn't slow down at the sharp curve, instead going through the curve in one smooth motion. It wasn't any weaker than the baldy's trick before the race. The baldy's face froze. He didn't think that the person Xiao Xiao brought would be a master at racing. This was a little out of his expectations. Before, with the baldy's strength, Xiao Xiao was nothing more than a weak prey in his eyes. Her life and death were in his hands. But now, things had exceeded his imaginations. Prey was no longer prey, and what was supposed to be a game of cat and mouse had turned into a dangerous fight. The Baldy's lips curled into a cold smirk. No matter how good your skills were, since you were driving an Audi TT, that meant you were going to lose. The Audi TT in front of the huge Land Rover was a little out of proportion. As long as the Baldy put on a fighting stance, the one who would suffer in the end would be Lin Yi's side. Seeing that the Audi TT was still accelerating, the Baldy accelerated as well. He had underestimated his opponent. He wanted to wait for his opponent, but now he was being overtaken. The Baldy in sunglasses also began to accelerate. At the same time, he didn't slow down at the sharp curve in mountain, but continued to accelerate. The actions of the bald man in sunglasses shocked the men and women watching the match once again. They cheered and shouted. The first race that wasn't that eye-catching was now the most exciting fight. The audience kept calling their friends who weren't there, complaining that they didn't get to see the most exciting scene. Drifting, still drifting. The Baldy in sunglasses was also accelerating and drifting. This caused the distance between the two cars to shrink. Lin Yi frowned. It seemed that he had underestimated his opponent. Lin Yi wasn't a professional racer, but Lin Yi had undergone rigorous training. If he were to participate in a world-class race, he'd definitely be able to get a place. This kind of strength was enough to stand proudly in the underground racetracks, but the Baldy seemed to be an exception. It didn't take long for Lin Yi to realize that the Baldy's strength was on par with his. Only professional racers or assassins who had undergone rigorous training like him could have this kind of racing skill. A faint look of worry flashed across Lin Yi's eyes. If Xiao Xiao wasn't in the car, then Lin Yi could totally fight to the death with him, but now it was impossible to win with just pure strength. Chapter 1070. Death Trap. Lin Yi sighed softly as the Land Rover got closer and closer. It seemed like he had to give up on this race. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. But even if Lin Yi wanted to give up, the Land Rover wouldn't let Lin Yi go. It was still accelerating, like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, charging towards Lin Yi's back. Lin Yi, honey, he's catching up. What do we do? What do we do? Xiao Xiao jumped in fright at the sight of the Land Rover. Lin Yi frowned as he grabbed Xiao Xiao's hand and turned the steering wheel, pulling the Audi TT to the side of the mountain, opening up a path for the Rover. With the Land Rover's current speed, if Lin Yi didn't dodge, he'd be hit by the car for sure. He'd even crash into the mountain stream. This guy was driving with no regard for his life. Or perhaps he was planning on doing this. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao paused when she saw Lin Yi pull over, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. There's something wrong with the car behind us. I don't know if it's my enemy. Lin Yi's tone was calm even in the face of danger. Of course. Lin Yi thought that the Baldy's enemy was him, not Xiao Xiao. As far as he was concerned, he was the one dragging Xiao Xiao into this. After all the enemies in Songshan were coming for Lin Yi. Ah. Xiao Xiao paused and subconsciously gasped. She looked back just in time to see the Land Rover ramming into her car. Lin Yi naturally saw this from the rearview mirror as well. He floored the gas pedal, and the Audi TT shot forward once more. But even so, the back of the car was still rammed by the Land Rover. With a loud bang, Lin Yi knew that the back of the Audi TT was heavily damaged. It seemed like he was right. The Baldy's real goal wasn't to race, but to kill him. Turn around and hold me tight. Don't let go. Lin Yi hurriedly ordered. Oh, okay. For some reason, Xiao Xiao didn't feel any fear at all. There were bad guys chasing them, but she wasn't scared at all. It was like she was in a horror movie. And with Lin Yi here, she felt more at ease. This was going to be a very rare experience in her life, going through a life and death situation with the person she loved. This was something that many couples dreamed of, and so Xiao Xiao was a little thankful for the Baldy's help. Of course, that was if they made it through this dangerous situation. Xiao Xiao passed the steering wheel to Lin Yi and turned her body, turning from leaning on Lin Yi's chest to hugging him. Xiao Xiao's body was petite to begin with, so the space was limited, but it wasn't hard for her. The softness of her chest squeezed into Lin Yi's embrace, and it made Lin Yi's blood boil, especially with Xiao Xiao riding on him. It was very similar to a legendary sport, and it made Lin Yi feel even more excited. Xiao Xiao was the same. If she could, she really wanted to do this. In her heart, since she had already decided on Lin Yi, it didn't matter if Lin Yi was good or bad. Her body's condition didn't allow her to hesitate and look left and right. Once she made up her mind, she had to do it right away. Otherwise, she might die before she could even enjoy the feeling of sex. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Xiao Xiao had this mentality towards Lin Yi, and so she didn't care about being shy or anything. Once she made up her mind, she had to do it right away. Bang! The rover rammed into them again. Lin Yi frowned. He couldn't do what he normally did in a situation like this. He couldn't drift when going through a curve, either. What if he was drifting and the rover rammed into him? That would be a disaster. So Lin Yi could only use normal measures when going through a curve, slowing down and turning. Even so, he almost lost control from the rover. Ah! Xiao Xiao shrieked, panicking. Lin Yi, honey, what do we do? Although Lin Yi was driving, he was also thinking of a way to deal with the situation. If it weren't for Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi could just stop the car and cause trouble for the rover. Mystic class masters weren't invulnerable to weapons, but a car like this was something they could handle with pure energy protecting their body. Lin Yi was confident that he could kick the Land Rover into the bottom of the ravine. But with Xiao Xiao here, Lin Yi couldn't just leave her in the car. It was too dangerous. If he jumped out with Xiao Xiao, then Lin Yi would have to channel his qi to Xiao Xiao first. As for attacking the rover, that was impossible. Lin Yi was still thinking when the Land Rover rammed into him again, with a bang. The enemy was obviously coming for him, and even if Lin Yi dodged, it wouldn't help. He might even have to hide in the ravine. Ah, my car! Xiao Xiao looked at the spiderweb-like damage on the windshield, feeling heartache. Her beloved car was ruined by this bastard? It was another sharp turn, but this one was even sharper than the one before. Lin Yi's heart sank as he looked at the Land Rover chasing after him. If he wasn't mistaken, his car was going to be rammed into by the Land Rover at this turn. Hold me and don't move. Lin Yi started channeling the art of dragon mastery. If Xiao Xiao got hurt in a situation like this, the consequences would be unimaginable, and so Lin Yi had to make sure that Xiao Xiao could absorb his qi in time to heal her. Lin Yi, on the other hand, made a bold decision. Xiao Xiao seemed to have realized the urgency of the situation as she hugged Lin Yi tightly like a sloth, almost sticking her body onto Lin Yi's. But Lin Yi naturally wasn't in the mood to enjoy the feeling of Xiao Xiao's soft body. After the turn, he slammed on the brakes, using the mountain wall to stop the car. The bald man had been waiting for this chance. Without a doubt, the turn in front was the best place to solve the problem. Seeing Lin Yi stop the car, a mocking smile appeared on the bald man's face. In a situation like this, stopping the car or not was a death sentence. Did he think that the weight of his car could withstand the impact? You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.